We are back at North Wilkesboro Speedway, and the command has just been given to begin moving for pace laps. Now, it's rather cool here this afternoon, as we have told you before. Was very cool yesterday when we televised the NASCAR modified race for you, but it's a little more pleasant here this afternoon. Nevertheless, the cars are being given extra time to warm their engines. There will be about 5 laps here before we take the green flag. And here is the starting lineup for today's Holly Farms 400. On the pole will be Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia, in the number 9 Coors Ford, qualifying at 115.196 miles an hour. Outside of row number 1 will be Darrell Waltrip in the Tide Chevrolet number 17. In row number 2, it's Benny Parsons from Bellevue, North Carolina, in the Folgers Coffee Chevy number 35. And outside of him will be Corpus Christi, Texas, Terry Labonte in the number 11 Budweiser Chevrolet for Junior Johnson. In the 3rd row, it's Alan Kulwicki from Greenfield, Wisconsin, with the Z-Rex Antifreeze Ford number 7. And then Ken Schrader in the Red Baron Frozen Pizza Ford number 90. In the 4th row, it'll be Michael Waltrip in car number 30. He's from Owensboro, Kentucky. Outside will be Bobby Allison from Hueytown, Alabama, in the Miller American Buick number 22. Morgan Shepherd starts in 9th position. He's in car 26, the Quaker State Buick. Alongside will be Dale Earnhardt, the Wrangler Jeans Chevy car number 3. Kyle Petty will start in 11th position in the Stitco Ford number 21. Then Ricky Rudd in the Motorcraft Ford car 15. Going to row number 7, it'll be Buddy Arrington in car number 67 and Dale Jarrett in number 18. The 8th row will consist of Neil Bonnet and Sterling Marlin. Going to row number 9, Phil Parsons, the number 55 car, flanked by Jeff Bodine in the Levi Garrett Chevrolet number 5. The 10th row has Richard Petty in the STP Pontiac number 43 and Rusty Wallace in the Kodiak Pontiac number 27. The 11th row, it's Dave Marcus in car number 71 and Davey Allison in 28. The 12th row consists of Harry Gant in 33 and Hut Strickland in 76, his first Winston Cup event. In the 13th row, Ernie Urban in number 6 and Larry Pollard in number 12. The 14th row, Bobby Hillen Jr. and Jimmy Means. In row number 15, it's Slick Johnson and Ronnie Thomas. And starting in row number 16, Steve Chrisman in car number 62 and Trevor Boys in 64. And we noticed the number 81 car of Slick Johnson that has been showing some smoke here on the pace laps. Let's try to contact Neil Bonnet. He'll be carrying our in-car camera. We also have radio contact with him.
Neil Bonnet, this is Jerry Punch at ESPN. Do you read us, Neil? It looks like you're about a lap away from starting. Field looked pretty good to you as far as the car temperature in this cool weather?
Well, apparently Neil is not able to hear us. You can see him adjusting his goggles and making sure he's physically ready to get ready for this 400-lap race here at North Wilkesboro. And there is the Hardee's in-car camera that is inside the Neil Bonnet car. In one more lap, we're going to be getting the green flag. Cars warming up their tires, making sure that the temperatures in the gauges are fine and making sure that the heat in the tires is okay before we start actual high-speed competition. 32 cars set to go. The pole sitter is Bill Elliott, and Darrell Waltrip sits in row number 1 alongside. Parsons and Labonte in the 2nd row, and Kulwicki and Schrader make up row number 3.
Bill Elliott's 7th Busch Pole of the year, Bob. He has never won on a short track, and they would like to change that today, but it's awfully tough to win here in Junior Johnson's backyard. He likes to think he can do it, and maybe he can.
Here comes the pace car. The field is in the hands of pole sitter Bill Elliott. It's going to be a slow start coming off of corner number 4. Now Bill Elliott begins to pick up the pace, and the green flag is out. The Holly Farms 400 underway from North Wilkesboro. Waltrip and Elliott go into corner number 1 side by side. Down the backstretch, it's Waltrip on the outside and Bill Elliott to the inside. Elliott has the slight advantage, while Terry Labonte and Waltrip, and we have a spin. That's the number 52 car of Jimmy Means, who has spun. Just entering turn number 3, and he keeps running, so no caution flag, but he's going to be lapped here in just a few seconds. Elliott leads the field down once again with Terry Labonte 2nd, then Darrell Waltrip, then Benny Parsons, then Alan Kulwicki and Ken Schrader.
Bob, let's take a look at what happened to Jimmy Means. Means made a pit stop, and there's his car spinning as Steve Chrisman goes by. As Slick Johnson in the 81 car. Means gets the car stopped, does not contact the wall, and will not lose a lap, but he's just in front of the leader. There they are coming out of turn 4. That's Means and Elliott about 3 car lengths behind him.
By the way, for the next Winston Cup event at Charlotte, North Carolina, it'll be Jimmy Means driving a Rick Henry car. It'll be the car that Tim Richmond drove earlier this year, but instead of 25, they'll reverse the numbers and make it the familiar Jimmy Means number 52. Now he's about to go a lap down to Bill Elliott as Elliott pulls alongside in corner number 4. Down the straightaway they race, but Elliott unable to make the pass at this time. Meanwhile, there's Dale Earnhardt trying to fight his way up toward the front after a 10th place start, working on Morgan Shepherd.
Back up front, Jimmy Means holding off the likes of Bill Elliott and Terry Labonte. And Bob, this is not surprising. Means ran awfully well as Elliott gets a little bit of a tap from Terry to let him know he's there. But Means ran well at Richmond, Virginia a few weeks ago. He ran on the lead, in fact led under green. He went by Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt later passed him back. But Means has that Pontiac, the Eureka Vacuums Pontiac, honking right now. He does not want to lose the lap early on.
It'll be interesting to see how he does perform in the Rick Hendrick Chevrolet at Charlotte. There are the leaders coming down. That first car is the lap car, or about to be lapped. Jimmy Means, although he's staying ahead of Bill Elliott right now. That is Terry Labonte running in second. Darrell Waltrip is third, followed by Benny Parsons, then Kulwicki. Dale Earnhardt has moved up to a 6th position at the moment. Now Jimmy Means' car slides high in turn number 4, and he is passed by the first 3. Elliott, Labonte, and Darrell Waltrip. Labonte in that 2nd position, driving for Junior Johnson, whose record here is unbelievable.
Bob, Dale Earnhardt really making a move. You know, we thought maybe he would lay back a little bit, even though it's not his driving style. There we're inside Neil Bonnett's car with the Hardee's race cam, the Valvoline Pontiac, trying to work behind Richard Petty. But we're talking about Earnhardt. He is really making his way to the front, currently trying to work over Alan Kulwicki. As you see how tight it gets there. The Lifebuoy Chevys in front of Neil Bonnet. That's Dave Marcus, and Marcus runs awfully well at this track.
And it appears as if Neil was losing ground as Marcus was able to pass him. But there are Elliott and Labonte, 1st and 2nd, in the Holly Farms 400 opening laps. The rest of the field streaming by. That is Dale Earnhardt in the Wrangler Jeans number 3 Chevrolet. He is in 6th, trying to make a pass on Alan Kulwicki in the Xerox Ford car 7.
You know, Alan Kulwicki ran awfully well here in the spring race, had a 4th place finish, and that was in his car Sirloin, the one that was so famous for running so many races, named after the steakhouse company that sponsored his team a year ago. Well, Sirloin is no more. This is the only car he has left. Sirloin was damaged heavily at Richmond, Virginia. It's now going to be a coffee table for Alan Kulwicki's home. What's left of it is, anyway. And now he has a Speedway car running a short track. And you see what happens there? Earnhardt goes by.
Earnhardt makes the pass going into turn number 3, so Dale now moves into 5th position, and ahead of him next is going to be Benny Parsons, who runs in 4th. There's Dale Earnhardt, who has all but, although he cannot definitely clinch the championship even with a win here this weekend, but he has all but wrapped up the Winston Cup title for 1987. It's just been a tremendous year for him. 11 victories in the 1987 season. Back in the pack, we pick up some action involving Kyle Petty in the number 21 car. That's Ken Schrader in 90, Ricky Rudd in 15, and Michael Waltrip in car number 30. Michael with a really fine qualifying performance in the All-Pro Auto Parts Chevrolet. Car number 30 qualifying at 114.237, 7th fastest.
Mike Waltrip ran so well in Richmond in this car, qualified 7th, and never got a chance to run the car. Was involved in that chain reaction crash on the very first lap, and therefore the car was nearly destroyed in that race. Had to be totally rebuilt, everything except the roof. But Mike Beam has come on board with that team, the All-Pro Auto Parts team, and they have really been working hard. They thought they got a shot at the pole here at Wilkesboro. They did not get the pole, but a good qualifying effort starting 7th.
The leader continues to be Bill Elliott, and there is 3rd and 4th and 5th. And Earnhardt goes to the outside of Benny Parsons, trying to pick up the spot. Parsons on the inside and Dale Earnhardt to the outside. They come down here and cross the stripe. Benny had just a slight advantage, but not anymore, as Earnhardt passes, and now Alan Kulwicki begins to make a move on the outside of Benny Parsons.
Here's Harry Gant in the pits, an unscheduled stop for Harry Gant. We understand they had a tire smoking, possibly a right rear tire going down as Earnhardt's car making its way toward the front. An unscheduled stop for Harry Gant. Tough break for the Skull Bandit. He has had an abysmal season for Harry Gant. He's down off pit road, and there's Earnhardt and back toward the front. Earnhardt chasing those two guys, Elliott and Labonte.
Bill Elliott comes down and completes lap number 18 out of 400 that will make up this race. Back with the Hardee's in-car camera in Neil Bonnett's car. It's Elliott, Labonte, Waltrip, Earnhardt, and Kulwicki back with more of the Holly Farms 400 after this. It's the Holly Farms 400 live from North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. I'm Bob Jenkins along with Dr. Jerry Punch, Dick Berggren, and Gary Lee. And the leader is Bill Elliott in car number 9. Terry Labonte runs second, and we have a new third place position. It belongs to Dale Earnhardt as he was able to get by Darrell Waltrip just a couple of laps ago. There is Dale in third position. Waltrip trailing in car number 17. They're lapping the slower machine of Larry Pollard in car number 12. So Earnhardt is now third. Waltrip is in fourth. And Alan Kulwicki continues to run in fifth position. So we did see the first side-by-side venture of Earnhardt and Darrell Waltrip, but everything went smoothly.
Everything was nice and clean, very clean. Those two guys up front both know they see that yellow and blue Wrangler Chevrolet headed their way. They've got about a 3.5 or 4 second lead over Earnhardt. There's about 15 car lengths between Labonte, the second place car, and Earnhardt as the leaders come out of 4. But they know he's back there. And if you put a clock on Earnhardt, as we have just done, he is the quickest thing on the racetrack right now. And boy, he is awesome when he gets to the front. Maybe they can hold him off. But Elliott and Labonte know they have their work cut out for him.
Jerry, you mentioned that Kerry Gant came in for a pit stop a few laps ago with some smoke coming from the right rear of that car. He's been black flagged now, and here he comes in for another stop.
You probably have a broken Panhard bar or something in the right side of the car. They came in and the car, the right rear tire was rubbing and the right front tire was rubbing, and the car was just not handling. Harry was awfully loose on the track, and they are going to work underneath the hood. And again, a tough break for Harry Gant. What a year they've had. I mean, they have had so many problems. You name it, it's happened to that team.
The average speed after 20 laps, 110.024 miles an hour. Again, the top qualifying speed was 115.196. And there is Terry Labonte now, who has moved in right on the back bumper of the Bill Elliott machine. So we could be seeing a battle for first position here in the next few laps. Ronnie Thomas in car number 41, who started 30th, is being lapped by the front runners. Elliott has already gotten around, and now Terry Labonte begins to make a move down the backstretch. There you see Bill Elliott's record here at North Wilkesboro.
We mentioned Bill Elliott has never won a short track race. His best finish is fourth 3 times this year. He finished fourth at Richmond both times and in Bristol, Tennessee. He led the most laps at Bristol. It's the only race that Dale Earnhardt won that he didn't lead the most laps in. That's the one Elliott led, the first Bristol race we saw here on the ESPN.
Bill Elliott with 3 wins in 1987, looking for number 4 this afternoon. Now he begins to pull away just a little bit from Terry Labonte. The interval between first and second opening up just a little bit as the leaders have already worked some slower traffic, and in the next 4 or 5 laps will be approaching some major race traffic.
Talking about pressure on a race car driver. Now Terry Labonte has to be feeling the pressure. Junior Johnson has never gone a season as a car owner without a win. He's been a car owner since 1966, and as yet they have not won on the Winston Cup Tour this year. He would like to win here. He is basically been told he will win here today, and I think Terry feels confident. Tim Brewer and the crew have done yeoman's chore on that car just to get it rebuilt from last week.
Look at Dale Earnhardt, who has now caught the 2 leaders, Elliott and Terry Labonte. Last week's finish at Martinsville, amazing. We had a chance to talk to Terry Labonte earlier about it.
Do you feel like a driver who's been deliberately taken out from behind?
I know I'm a driver that's been deliberately taken out from behind, and unfortunately, it's one of those things that happened, and you know, there's nothing you can do about it right now. It's the way it is.
Well, that's the way it is, but again, the rumblings in the pit area all weekend long. There are those who hope look to settle the score with other drivers here this afternoon. And now Dale Earnhardt goes to the outside of Terry Labonte down the backstretch, looking for that second position. They're wheel to wheel and side by side into turn number 3. Earnhardt comes out with about a half a car length advantage off the 4th corner, side by side down the straightaway. Earnhardt with about a quarter of a car length advantage. Now he makes the pass cleanly and moves to second. So indeed, Dale Earnhardt appears to be the man on the move, the fastest car on the racetrack at this point.
In the final practice session yesterday, the 3 quickest cars were Waltrip, Earnhardt, and Labonte. Now, Elliott was just a tick off, but he wasn't that quick as far as on fresh tires. Now, we remember Waltrip changed engines this morning, so he's on an untested engine. He's not running all that well right now, but maybe they can get it dialed in a little bit. Labonte running about what he thought he would do early on, and Earnhardt, well, no one knew how well he would run because he didn't qualify that well. But boy, he is really running hard now. That's 4:56 right there on the screen.
And we have Labonte into the wall in corner number 4. He slides high on the racetrack and tags the wall in corner number 4. The car moving very slowly down in front of the huge crowd that we have in the grandstand. So the yellow flag race is on, and Labonte apparently is going to be able to drive it around to the pits, but he's got a sorry-looking right front tire.
Well, it looked like he couldn't get the car refired. Right in front of us, he was clutching the car, trying to get it refired. Let's take a look and see what happened. Labonte, of course, was running. He's the 3rd car on the screen. The car just darts up across the track. He did cut a right front tire. Smoke from beneath the car. He's trying to turn the wheels, but just nudges the wall there. Did a good job of keeping the car from going head-on in the 4th turn wall.
He certainly did, and did a nice job standing on the brakes and not making any heavier contact with the wall. So our first yellow flag of the afternoon waves over North Wilkesboro Speedway as here comes Bill Elliott and the others in for their first service. Earnhardt is in, so is Waltrip, Elliott, Alan Kulwicki. Let's go to the pit area and Gary Lee.
Well, I am down here with the Dale Earnhardt crew as Richard Childress, Cecil Gordon and crew go to work. They're changing all 4 tires, topping off the fuel. They only put the 1 dump can, 11 gallons in a very tight pit area. As it was called, the drivers this morning, the most dangerous pit area in all of NASCAR Winston Cup racing. But Dale Earnhardt is underway in car number 3.
There is very little room down there in the pit area as they have to virtually double park to get their service. And as Jeff Bodine pulls out of the pit area, he runs over a wheel but really does no damage. So we're under caution at North Wilkesboro's Holly Farms 400. And they're the top 5, and let's go to Gary Lee for a report.
Down here with Junior Johnson, what was the damage to the right side?
Well, we think it's knocked the toe end out a little bit. Other than that, we think it's all right.
Did he say what happened? What occurred up there?
Hey, he thinks he run over something and cut a tire down.
Well, obviously very frustrating this early in the race for Junior Johnson and the Budweiser number 11.
All right, Junior did not lose a lap during that incident, but he's way in the back of the pack. Now, Dave Marcus did not pit, neither did Hut Strickland, so those 2 are going to be shown as 1st and 2nd, but right behind, already having made a pit stop, is Dale Earnhardt, and then comes Rusty Wallace, Bill Elliott, Phil Parsons, Morgan Shepherd, and Kyle Petty.
There's a look at the right front of Terry Labonte's car as it came by. You got to look at it just a minute ago. We're inside the Hardee's race cam now. There's the right front of the Labonte Budweiser Chevrolet. It's been scrubbed against the wall. A lot of that tire rubber coming off when he tried to make that lap to keep from losing a lap as the caution came out, and he did an excellent job. Marcus back up front, Bob. Many folks may remember a year ago in this race, Marcus started 15th, went straight to the front and led a good portion of this race, so he's no stranger up front here at Wilkesboro.
And Hut Strickland, who is back there in the yellow number 76, is making his very first Winston Cup start ever as some debris has been found on the race surface. Hut Strickland, of course, coming from the Charlotte Daytona Dash Series, making his very first Winston Cup start. And hopefully there will be many more for Hut Strickland. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted.
And go ahead and do it, Dick.
Well, we were going to talk about the pit area here, Bob. This is an incredibly tight pit area. It is the most pit area, in fact, in all of Winston Cup racing. It is also the only one that I can think of where there is no pit wall. So there's nothing to separate these screaming down the pit road cars from the rest of us that are on the other side of pit road. And there are a number of dangers here. One of them is that tires can get kicked up by some of the cars that are trying to leave from their pit stops, and when they do, they go flying high in the air, and they can be real missiles. Now, in the spring race, John Younk, who at the time was crew chief for Alan Kulwicki, was taken out of here in a stretcher after getting hit by a flying tire. Fortunately, this will probably be the last race. We're going to see this pit road because they say they're going to redo it for the next event. And right now, it looks like we're getting ready for a restart.
Indeed, we are. The pace car is in, and the green will come back out on lap number 44. And Terry Labonte, who caused this caution period, cutting a tire and scraping against the fourth turn wall, begins from 22nd position, but he has not lost a lap. The field streams through turn number 1. And the lead at the moment is held by Dave Marcus, with Hut Strickland running second. But look at Dale Earnhardt as he begins to thread his way through the traffic. Pulling to the inside of Hut Strickland, already taking over second position. And now he'll battle with Dave Marcus for the lead spot. Marcus in the number 71 Light Boy Helen Ray car. And look at Earnhardt go high onto the racetrack. He passed Strickland low. He takes Marcus to the high side. And that car working for Dale obviously very well in any location.
That Wrangler Chevrolet looks to be on a rail, just absolutely holding tight on the bottom of the racetrack. He went around Marcus, and Marcus was not even there. He is pulled away from the second place car, or rather the Rusty Wallace car. Wallace had a good pit stop that put him up in the front 3 or 4. An excellent stop by Barry Dodson and the crew. Wallace currently in third spot, but there's Marcus and Earnhardt, the front 2 cars.
Rusty Wallace is going to be shown as third, then Elliott, then Strickland, then Phil Parsons, Morgan Shepherd, Kyle Petty, Alan Kulwicki, Ricky Rudd, Darrell Waltrip, and Jeff Bodine. Most of those have made a pit stop. There is Earnhardt, who's stretching it out now over Dave Marcus in the early going of this 400 lapper at North Wilkesboro. Back inside Neil Bonnett's car, the Hardee's Race Cam. The car right ahead of him is Morgan Shepherd. Neil is in 8th position and Morgan is in 7th. And you can see them battling with the number 6 car being driven this weekend by Ernie Irvin from Concord, North Carolina. There goes Alan Kulwicki to the inside and passing Neil Bonnet as now we look from the rear window. And that is Ricky Rudd right behind Neil, and Waltrip behind Rudd as Rudd tries to look to the outside, rather the inside, in turn number 4. And as they come off the straightaway, it looks like that Ricky may pick up that position. And he's blocked by the slower car number 6. There's the traffic jam down in turn number 2. And Jeff Bodine is really making a move while all of this traffic is out there on this racetrack. Bodine is the car there on the left, the yellow machine.
Ricky Rudd getting boxed in behind Ernie Irvin, one of the rookie competitors from the West Coast, now lives in Concord, but a former Winston West driver. Now he gets from around Irvin, and there's Jeff Bodine moving inside of Neil Bonnet.
And here we have a battle shaping up for second as Bill Elliott has suddenly passed Rusty Wallace and now begins to work on Dave Marcus for that second position. Coming out of turn number 2 down the backstretch, Elliott moves to second, dropping Dave Marcus back to third, and there is Rusty Wallace right on Dave Marcus's back bumper. So Elliott indeed showing some strength here. Now we see Rusty Wallace go to the high side in turn number 1 and pass Dave Marcus. Just about now he makes the clean pass, and Rusty Wallace moves to third. Back in the pack, meanwhile, Terry Labonte continues to fight his way forward. He's right behind Kyle Petty.
A lot of heavy traffic back there. That's about 18th spot back there where Labonte is trying to work his way to the front. Just seeing as the car has the toe-in problem, as Junior Johnson told Gary Lee a minute ago, but the car seems to be handling quite well. Labonte has a little bit of oversteer coming out of the corners. He's working over Kyle Petty, and Kyle is no slouch here. Remember, Kyle finished second here in the spring to Dale Earnhardt, so he has an awfully strong car. It's the same car that Kyle won with at Richmond a year ago. The same short track car the Woods have been running for a couple of years. The Wood brothers, I should say, from Stewart, Virginia.
3 abreast racing there in turn number 2. That's Kyle Petty in 17th position, and Terry Labonte is in 18th. The 6 car is already lapped. There is the leader, Dale Earnhardt from Annapolis, North Carolina, looking for win number 12 in Winston Cup competition this year. And with more from North Wilkesboro in just a moment.
There's Earnhardt just passing some of the rear traffic there. That's Ronnie Thomas's car, Larry Pollard in the Hamby car. Roger Hamby owns the car number 12. 4.5 second interval between Earnhardt and the second place car of Bill Elliott. One car on the move, Bob, has been Jeff Bodine. Bodine now showing in the top 5, running awfully well toward the front.
He was 12th at the drop of the green for the restart after the Labonte yellow and has now moved up to 6. So indeed, Jeff Bodine is running very well. 17 starts, 2 wins, 10 top 5s. And with Wilkesboro for Dale Earnhardt. Well, let's go to Gary Lee in the pit area. Gary?
Well, Bob, throughout much of the weekend, this portion of the pit area is the technical inspection area. We have the scales back there, the NASCAR templates, the other measuring devices. But for the race itself, this is the NASCAR penalty box. That's right, in motorsports, this is not hockey. In fact, it was first utilized about 3 races ago at Winston for some rough driving on the track. 2 drivers were black flagged and brought in. Jeff Bodine lost 2 laps in the pit area. Bobby Hillin lost 8. Now, apparently in NASCAR, it's okay to nerf and bump, but you can't drop kick your competition. You can't deliberately drive into them. In that case, a driver is black flagged, brought in here, and has held for some undetermined amount of time. Now, there's only one nice part about this penalty box being here. In a long penalty, you're only a few feet away from the concession stand.
All right, Gary. Well, we've certainly seen nothing in this early portion of the race to indicate that anyone will be put into the penalty box. It's been a very clean race. But indeed, if NASCAR feels that somebody did something that they shouldn't have done on the racetrack, they simply bring them in and let them cool off for a few laps before sending them back out in the competition.
It's a judgment call. You know, we talked to Les Richter and Dick Beatty. They bring them in, and the official, the NASCAR official standing in their pit, will wait and tell them when the driver is cool. The driver is very animated and jumping around inside the car and screaming and using some language possibly. They'll let him sit there for a while until he cools off. If he comes in and smiles and nods his head, and they'll let him go in a lap.
So Dale Earnhardt continues to smoke the competition. He's passing Dale Jarrett in the number 18 car. Meanwhile, Rusty Wallace and Dave Marcus are hooked up in a battle. This is for 5th, as Rusty is in 5th spot right now in the number 27 car, and Marcus in 6th in car number 71. Ahead of these guys is Jeff Bodine, who has moved to 4th. There's Alan Kulwicki entering your picture, as is Darrell Waltrip.
There's Rusty Wallace, the young driver from Valley Park, Missouri. And there's Dave Marcus, a veteran campaigner, drives the Helen Ray Chevrolet. Those 2 campaigners coming from different backgrounds. Wallace run the ASA circuit out in the Midwest, and of course the ARCA background for Dave Marcus from Wausau, Wisconsin. The car, the 27 that Wallace is driving here, is a car that Tim Richmond drove here and won in 1984. It's an older car. They've nicknamed it Millie. Tim Richmond sat on the pole with it at Darlington in '83, set a track record that stood there for a couple of years. The car they normally run on the short tracks, that's old Sampson, the old favorite. The oldest car in competition is no longer. Sampson was retired after Richmond when the front of the car turned sideways and the rear didn't in the turn 2 wall with the laps winding down. They sold that car, in fact gave it away to some youngsters who are going to run street stock with it. So the car that was the Rusty Wallace number 1 car that won at Bristol last year and won at Martinsville will go from being a Winston Cup champion to a street stock campaigner.
And our trivia question on Speed Week this week was, who was the last driver to win a short track race other than Earnhardt and Waltrip? And it was Rusty Wallace. Exactly. Darrell Waltrip now moves in on Alan Kulwicki. 2 abreast racing as Kulwicki and Dave Marcus are side by side, and that's Waltrip and Ricky Rudd following.
You might mention Rudd. They have a little bit different setup here. That's a new car they took to Richmond, and Ricky Rudd is just behind that pack of threesome right there. That's Kulwicki. They see Rudd in the right of your screen, the red and white Nerval number 15, the Motorcraft Ford. The car he'll be leaving after this season, but they have a new car. It's only its 3rd race, and the car is set up for a greasy racetrack. Ricky was telling me that when the track gets slippery later on in the day after the 200 or 300 lap mark, they should really make their move to the front.
Throughout the afternoon, we'll be giving you information as to who is going and who might be going where for 1988, but there has already been a driver named for the Bud Moore car that Ricky Rudd is driving right now.
and that will be Brett Bodine, the young driver, younger brother for Jeff Bodine. Brett is 28 years of age, and what a tremendous opportunity for Brett. In fact, he was one of the hot commodities. It was thought maybe he would go to the Junie Dunleavy ride that's been vacated by Kenny Schrader. Possibly Rick Hendrick would buy part of that car and put Bodine aboard, and maybe even bring Gary Nelson over as a crew chief. Well, that didn't happen. But what did happen is Brett Bodine will now drive the Bud Moore car, a very competitive car that will be sponsored by Motorcraft. Well, maybe, and maybe someone else. That's yet to be named for 88. But a good ride for Brett Bodine.
Now Waltrip has passed Dave Marcus, and Darrell Waltrip has moved into the 7th position. Marcus in 8th, 9th is Rudd, and Terry Labonte has now moved up into that 10th position after having brought out the first caution of the afternoon when he cut a tire and brushed against the 4th turn wall. Darrell Waltrip leading this contingent down the straightaway. Back up front, we have Dale Earnhardt still leading, and there he is as he is behind Neil Bonnet, and Neil is about to go a lap down. Earnhardt trying to pull alongside. Neil Bonnet is in 17th position, so there are now 16 cars on the lead lap. Neil goes a lap down.
Get a good look at the Hardy face cam inside there as the Wrangler Chevrolet goes by. You see how Earnhardt just pulls the car down the rear and doesn't wobble at all. He just jumps back in the throttle. That Lula Rosa engine responds. He pulls Bonnet by 2 or 3 car lengths down the straightaway.
In 2nd position right now is Morgan Shepherd, and in 3rd is Bill Elliott. And there they are. Morgan Shepherd has made a fine charge to the front in the Kenny Bernstein-owned machine, number 26, sponsored by Quaker State. He, of course, will be replaced in that car by Ricky Rudd next year.
Well, if Morgan Shepherd were to win this race, it would have to be a very popular win. Morgan is from Conover, North Carolina, just about 35 or 40 miles away. He ran this track a number of times back in his formative years in the late model stock car division. This car, Morgan has never really done that well here at this track. In fact, in the last 2 races, he's finished 25th and 27th. His best short track finish of the year, only 1 top 5, that coming last week at Martinsville. But they were hoping to turn it around. Morgan has a great attitude, even though he's being replaced in the car. He and the crew, Larry McReynolds and Kenny Bernstein, have worked to get that Quaker State Buick in victory lane. It just might happen today. Morgan running awfully well.
Morgan's best finishes in Winston Cup competition this year have been on the short track. He was 5th at Martinsville last week and 8th in Bristol earlier in the year. Dale Earnhardt leads the Holly Farms 400 at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina Speedway. We'll be right back. Dale Earnhardt just continues to pass cars and lap other machines. Earnhardt is the leader with Morgan Shepherd 2nd. Elliott is 3rd. Jeff Bodine 4th. Rusty Wallace is in 5th with almost a quarter of this race completed. It is just amazing, Jerry, to watch Dale Earnhardt out there. He's just passing cars with ease. And at the moment, he has passed up to position number 14, the 14 cars on the lead lap.
You have to figure they may have guessed correctly on the weather today. You know, yesterday we ran a modified event here, 150 lapper, and it couldn't have been more than 50 degrees here all day long. And with the wind chill, it must have been at least 40 or 42, awfully chilly. And that's when everyone ran that final practice session. A lot of teams speculated that it would be cold today at Wilkesboro, and they're wrong. What can I say? It's a beautiful day here in the Brushy Mountains, and a lot of teams have the car set up a little bit differently than they ordinarily would.
All right, Gary Lee standing by in the pit area for this report.
Well, Richard Childress, we were just talking about perhaps you had the right guess on the chassis setup on the engine. It was very cold yesterday. After practice yesterday, did you make any changes at all to car number 3?
Yeah, Kirk made a couple of changes on it, and I think I hit it pretty good. We'll just have to wait and see how the track changes.
Right now, he has only 14 cars on the lead lap. Total domination for the Wrangler Gene Chevrolet. How conservatively is he driving right now?
He's wanting to know about the pace right now. I got to go.
All right, more conversation between the crew and the driver. Let's go on down pit road to Dick Bergman.
And I'm with Larry McReynolds. He is crew chief for Morgan Shepherd, who is running 2nd. Are you guys happy with your chassis setup?
Well, we're good right now. In fact, we're catching Dale about 1/10 or 2 a lap, but it And last week we was good for the first 150 laps and it went away. But I think we're good today. We just need a little bit of luck on our side. But right now he's comfortable. He ain't saying a whole lot. Just trying to pace himself.
Can you adjust the car on the pit stops to gain more speed?
I didn't really understand.
Can you adjust the car on your pit stops to get faster?
Yeah, right now we're right on the verge of being a little bit loose. Probably the next stop I'll put a couple rounds of wedge in it to tighten them up, and I think we'll be okay.
Well, these guys are riding high in second spot, looking for number 1.
Yeah, and Morgan is doing very well. 7 seconds behind Dale Earnhardt, but he is moving that Buick very well. There he is in car number 26. That's Ken Schrader right behind. But Ken has lost a lap and is shown in 21st.
Bob, it's interesting. This Quaker State Buick you're seeing on the screen now is not the favorite car of the Bernstein team. The car they won the pole with at Martinsville and finished so well at Charlotte. There's Morgan Shepherd. That car they're saving for next week. This is a car they're not very enamored with. In fact, in 7 races, this car has had 5 different frame sections put on it. It's had a rough year. In fact, in April, Morgan Shepherd crashed the car here in a wreck with Mike Waltrip. They had to replace the front section, the rear section, both sides, and the top. Larry McReynolds said the only thing they saved were the gauges and the seat, and one of the gauges didn't work. So they almost had to rebuild a total new car, and boy, they have worked and done their homework.
I referred a while ago to the fact that Morgan has had a couple of top 10 finishes on short tracks, but he has only 2. His best performances this year have come on the speedways, and Morgan comes from a short track background. So a finish here today, a good finish, would certainly help him out in his situation. Now there is Jeff Bodine and Bill Elliott side by side as they're going for 3rd spot, and Bodine really is impressive in the early going.
Remember last year in this race, Jeff Bodine led the most laps, and it wasn't until 10 laps to go that Darrell Waltrip made the pass and took the victory. But Bodine, who has gone winless this year after winning 2, is having 8 poles and 2 wins in 86. They've gone to the well many times and come up dry in 87. They have yet to win a race, but now he's running awfully well.
That's Bill Elliott in 4th. 5th at the moment is Darrell Waltrip, as he has come on rather strongly from that yellow. He made a pit stop and came out late and really fell into the tail of the field, but he's worked his way back up to 5th position. Rusty Wallace runs 6th. 7th is Terry Labonte, I should say, is 5th. Wallace is 6th. Waltrip is 7th. 8th is Dave Marcus. 9th Ricky Rudd, and in 10th position is the number 7 car of Alan Kulwicki. Dale Earnhardt is dominating at the moment, and we have passed the first quarter mark. 105 laps are completed out of 400. And it's been a very safe race to this point here at North Wilkesboro. Only 1 yellow, and that was when Terry Labonte cut a tire and slid into the 4th turn wall. Other than that, we have been green all the way. And there is Rusty Wallace in car number 27, and Dale Earnhardt 6th and 7th. Our race summary with a 4th of the race gone, or a little over the 4th of the race. Here, Earnhardt has led 65 of the 111 laps with about an 8-second advantage over Morgan Shepherd. We have had 2 lead changes among 3 drivers and 1 caution period that lasted 6 laps. And there is Richard Petty, now about to be lapped.
Bob, he's 12th right now on the field, so Earnhardt has lapped the entire field except for 12 cars. Petty, the 12th place car, and he's trying to hold his own. Richard would like to get a good run here. Here's another driver that lost his short track car a week ago at Martinsville. So this is not the short track car they ran so well with here and finished 2nd with at Bristol. This is the car that they wrecked at Pocono. In fact, Joe Rutland wrecked the car in relief of Richard Petty, and the car had to be rebuilt. So it's not really a short track car, but it's late in the year with only 1 race left. He gets a little bit of a nudge from Earnhardt. Says, "Hi, King, I'm back here," and Richard Petty knows he's there, but he wants to hold him off and try to get you know, these 2 guys are vying for the record. Richard Petty holds the record for the most wins, 13 on the season, and Earnhardt currently has 11. If he would win today, it'd be 12, and he possibly could tie or even set a new record for single season wins in Winston Cup competition.
And it could very well go down to the final race of the year in Atlanta, and that will be a live telecast here on ESPN. So stand by for that possibly. Now Earnhardt moves outside of Richard Petty and passes on the main straightaway. So now there are 11 cars on the lead lap. Earnhardt having a field day here in the early going. You know, that the bumping that we saw there just a few minutes ago, Jerry, that's very common in Winston Cup racing and in other types of racing, as the guy who is running behind somebody that he could pass easily just simply moves up and gives him a nudge and says, hey, I'm here, please let me around. Bobby Allison comes in for a pit stop in the number 22 machine. He was in 16th before this pit stop. They're changing the right front tire.
It would have to be an unscheduled stop, Bob. They could go about 150 or 60 laps under green flag conditions for fuel, but the right front tire getting a little bit thin as Bobby Allison makes the pit stop, and Gary Lee is standing by. Gary?
Well, when we talk about longevity, we have to think about Bobby Allison, because today is his 700th NASCAR start, his 40th here at North Wilkesboro, and the numbers are just incredible. He has won 12% of those races. He's finished in the top 5 on 43% and the top 10 on 67%. He's won here 4 times. Now keep in mind, he's won in a Chevrolet, a Ford, and a Dodge, but today he drives a Buick, and he'd like to put that Buick in victory lane. His 40th try here, his 700th start in NASCAR competition.
As you mentioned, Bobby has 4 wins here at North Wilkesboro. Darrell Waltrip has 9, and Richard Petty leads the all-time winners list at this racetrack with 15. Those that have won at least one race here include Benny Parsons, Neil Bonnet, and Harry Gant, and Dale Earnhardt, with his win earlier this year, also has 2 victories at North Wilkesboro. We go inside Neil Bonnet's car in the Hardee's race cam, and we'll give you an idea of the footwork that goes on here at this half-mile racetrack, or a little over a half mile. How he is on the accelerator and on the brake and really busy all the time. Let's go to the pit area.
He sure is busy today, Bob Jenkins. They worked on this car for 2 days trying to set it up to get it to go around Wilkesboro really, really fast. And after all that work, they had a team meeting yesterday afternoon after the last practice, and they said, hey, this is not nearly as good as we ran here in the spring. So they scrubbed all that work. They put the springs in, the anti-roll bars, all the settings in that they had run here several months earlier. They're out here today with that setup with 0 practice, none, not any. It is not working as well as they had hoped. It is not working as well as it did in the spring.
Well, we understand that Neil is complaining of a vibration in that car. You saw him gesture to one of the drivers behind him, and we believe that was Terry Labonte, whom he motioned to simply to go ahead and pass. Neil just not happy with the way that car is set up and handling, and so he was simply letting Terry know that that he should go to the outside and make the pass. There's Bonnet, the Valvoline number 75.
You know, Neil has been one of the most consistent drivers this year. Although he is yet to win, he's had some good finishes. Neil Bonnet showing up in the points, although problems the last few weeks have dropped him back to 7th overall in the point standings, but he has had some good runs. He's had 3 4th-place finishes at Rockingham, here at Wilkesboro, at Riverside on the road course, and up at the Monster Mile at Dover, Delaware.
And you can see that Dale Earnhardt is working on Alan Kulwicki in 10th position, so he's about to put him down a lap. Meanwhile, here is Rusty Wallace in 6th position and Darrell Waltrip in 7th. These guys are running together and running well, but nobody is running like Dale Earnhardt is running.
Those 2 cars back in 6th and 7th pretty well stabilized. The Pontiac and the Chevrolet, Kodiak Pontiac of the Raymond Beetle team. Rusty Wallace, the driver there, and the 3-time Winston Cup champion. One of the top runners here. He's won 5 of the last 6 events. 5 of the last 6 Holly Farm 400s have gone to Darrell Waltrip.
So that battle is stabilized, at least for the moment, as Rusty Wallace holds on to that 6th position, and Waltrip is in 7th in the Tide machine, car number 17. A lot of speculation earlier about whether or not Dale would be back next year with the Rick Hendrick team, and I guess that's pretty well settled, as probably will be.
Well, there's a lot of speculation as to what will happen. I think they will be there. Jeff Hammond, I think, will be the crew chief. And there's the leader, Dale Earnhardt, up front. And Earnhardt, by the way, has just gone around the 10th place car, Alan Kulwicki, and will set his sights on Ricky Rudd. There's Rudd now coming, just going under your picture. That's Bobby Allison flashing by, who made an unscheduled stop, and Earnhardt the leader. But getting back to the Waltrip situation, there is speculation that Waddell Wilson, who is the team manager there, may go over and run the operation for Jeff Bodine. There's Bodine's car to the left of your screen, the yellow numeral number 5. Second place battle as Bodine now has gone around Morgan Shepherd. But if Waddell Wilson goes to Bodine's car, then where does Gary Nelson go? Well, the obvious thing is that I've heard Nelson may do a research and development program for Rick Hendrick, or he may go to another team that Hendrick may purchase, and that is yet to be decided.
So there's all kind of question marks remaining as far as the silly season is concerned. Although some rides have been established for next year, many have not. There is Terry Labonte and Bill Elliott, 4th and 5th. But really the man on the move, as you indicated, Jerry, was Jeff Bodine. He has passed Morgan Shepherd and now is in 2nd position. But the lead continues to be held by Dale Earnhardt, as we have completed now 130 laps out of 400. Back in a moment. Back at North Wilkesboro on a very cool Sunday afternoon, and not nearly as cool as it was yesterday, as we indicated earlier, mainly because there isn't as much wind here today. But because of the cool weather, there are certain changes that have to be made on Winston Cup cars.
This late in the season, it can get cold at a Winston Cup race. Now, when the temperature drops, the crew will make some changes to a Winston Cup car. One change they would like to make, but they can't make, would be the tire compound. Goodyear provides a right side and left side tire compound. To illegally change that would cost the crew $5,000 in fines. But as the temperature drops and the air gets heavier, they rejet the carburetor. They pass more fuel through there. This does not change the pit strategy because these cars will burn up tires before they burn up the 22 gallons of fuel on board. Now, a cold track is a tight track, so the crews loosen up the cars. They go to a softer spring rate. And, oh yeah, on a real cold day, the crew members do wear long johns.
Well, we might take a survey to find out how many are indeed wearing long johns today, but the sun is really quite warm here this afternoon.
Well, it has warmed up at least 25 degrees from yesterday, and it is a welcome relief here as it is just a gorgeous fall here in North Wilkesboro, and the Apple Festival going on across town, and many of those folks have brought their little pails of apples and come to Wilkesboro Speedway today for the Holly Farms 400.
It did snow in the mountains, I guess, last night a little bit, not too far from here. We had the same thing happen in the spring race here at North Wilkesboro, so it's been cold both times we visited here today, but very pleasant this afternoon. Dale Earnhardt continues to lead. You saw just a second ago how he was about to make a lap, put a lap on Ricky Rudd in 9th. Here is the 2nd place battle. Jeff Bodine in the Levi Garrett Chevrolet battles with Morgan Shepherd in the Quaker State Buick.
Two total different backgrounds. There's Shepherd, who grew up on the short tracks on the asphalt around the South, driving cars with fenders. The late model stock car division was a former late model stock car, which is now Busch Grand National champion for NASCAR, as opposed to Bodine, who grew up with the open wheel modifieds. The men have lived by the grace of God and 600 horsepower, they once were called, and Bodine grew up running his father's track, Eli Bodine, up in Chemung, New York. There is Bodine, the 2nd place competitor, and Morgan Shepherd, wanting to get a win for his car owner Bernstein, although he's been fired or he's been released really from that team. Morgan says he'll run a team next year. He will be in Daytona. If he has to bring the Studebaker in the backyard, he will be there and try to make the field for the 88 Daytona 500.
Well, Jeff Bodine really has been the driver that has made the largest move in the first quarter or so of this race. He started 18th and has moved to 2nd. There's Terry Labonte, still out there in competition. You can see the damage there on the right front of the car that was caused when he brushed the wall after cutting a tire in the early going. But the Junior Johnson Budweiser Chevrolet is still in competition, and Terry at the moment is 4th.
We mentioned Junior Johnson's record here of 15 wins, 9 wins in the last 14 races. But in all fairness to Terry Labonte, who's a young driver, only 30 years of age, this is Terry's first ride at this track in a Junior Johnson car. Remember, he had a fractured scapula, or a broken shoulder, I should say, back at the beginning of the season in a wreck at Darlington. He was involved, and he made one pace lap here in the spring race back in April, climbed down to the car. They put Brett Bodine. Brett did an admirable job bringing that car home to an 8th place finish.
So it's Terry Labonte's first ride for Junior Johnson on this racetrack. And we have Bobby Allison going very high on the racetrack, allowing both Morgan Shepherd and Terry Labonte to pass by on the low side, as Bobby is well off the pace while the other three are on the lead lap. Dave Marcus has come in for a pit stop. Perhaps this is the first of some routine pit stops we'll be showing before long. He is, or was, 8th before making this pit stop.
Bob, that was a scheduled stop for Marcus. You got to remember, he did not pit on that first caution flag caused by the Labonte contact with the fourth turn wall. He stayed out and was the leader of note when we went back to green. Both he and Hut Strickland were the two cars that did not come in and take advantage for tires and fuel. So that would be a scheduled stop. We said they could go about 150 laps. That's exactly what he went. Lap 150, he pitted for right side tires and fuel. So Marcus back out in front of the second and third place battle there. That is, looked like Labonte going around the third place car of Morgan Shepherd.
Indeed, that's Terry Labonte taking over the third position from Morgan Shepherd. Terry performing well now in third. Shepherd is fourth. Fifth position is Bill Elliott. Sixth is Rusty Wallace. Seventh is the number 17 car of Darrell Waltrip. So there's some good racing going on the track, as both Bodine has moved up well, as has Terry Labonte, but nobody is being able to even stay close to Dale Earnhardt, who is pretty much dominating this race at the moment. Now Morgan Shepherd is inside of the Ernie Irvan car once again. That's DK Ulrich's machine that Ernie is driving. The U.S. Racing Chevrolet. Ernie hailing from Concord, North Carolina.
Bob, remember back early in the telecast when Gary Lee spoke with Junior Johnson, and Junior just seemed so calm and relaxed when talking about the fact that his car had just tagged the wall and they had a problem with the steering and they were back at the back of the field. And it was like Junior was just saying, you know, okay, buy a dozen eggs and a loaf of bread. He wasn't really upset at all. Why? Is because Junior knows this racetrack. He knows the capabilities of his car and his driver. And most importantly, Junior remembers in 1978, he had a car here with Cale Yarborough aboard. They were 4 laps down. Who won the race? Who won that Holly Farms 400? Cale Yarborough.
Dale Earnhardt leads the Holly Farms 400 with 155 laps completed. We'll be right back with more of our live coverage. Dale Earnhardt is the leader. There he is behind Michael Waltrip in car number 30. Michael has already been lapped, and the car right ahead of Michael Waltrip is Darrell Waltrip in car number 17. So the brothers are running together out there on the racetrack, and Darrell is in 7th. So there are 7 cars on the lead lap at the moment, and Dale Earnhardt appears to be in a position to dispose of Darrell Waltrip in the next couple of laps and put him one down. So Dale is pretty much leaving everybody in his wake.
Well, Dale would like to be able to put Waltrip a lap down. He knows how strong Waltrip is at this racetrack. You know, remember a week ago, Waltrip got lapped at Martinsville, Virginia, late in the race. But circumstances happened that Waltrip got his lap back on an unscheduled stop, a fuel stop for Earnhardt, and Waltrip ended up winning the race. He would like to put, I'm talking about Earnhardt, would like to put Waltrip a lap down. Waltrip, of course, the 7th place car. And just in front of Waltrip is the 6th place car of Rusty Wallace. Those cars running together.
Gary Lee standing by for a report on pit road.
Well, Bob, we've been talking about the dominance of Dale Earnhardt, but there are only like 5.5 seconds between Dale and second place Jeff Bodine. Gary Nelson, the crew chief, is here. Are you satisfied right now to ride in second? Let Dale set the pace, or would you like to maybe use up some tire and some car and run him down?
Well, considering we started 18th, we're pretty well happy being up to second at this stage in the race. Dale's pretty strong. The 11 car looks pretty strong. Those are the ones we're concerned about, but we're going to kind of run our own pace until later in the race and see where we are, and then we'll be able to go for it, hopefully.
Well, obviously a great ride thus far, but we've not even reached the halfway point.
Yes, sir. I think, like I said, those 3 cars are going to be the ones that beat. Dale's lapping up pretty far into the field right now, so if it stays green much longer, there's going to be a lot of cars go a lap down.
Listen up, when you come from 18th to second, you got a great ride going. Don't discount the chances of car number 5.
Well, you're absolutely right, and he is picking up about a half a second a lap on Dale Earnhardt. You can see that Jeff there is running without any race traffic around him. He has passed Richard Petty and Kyle Petty and others, and he's in clean air. However, Dale Earnhardt is caught in some race traffic at the moment, so that interval could even shorten from that.
And Bob, take a look at Terry Labonte, the car number 11, the Budweiser Chevy, going around Kyle Petty. Labonte now currently being shown in 3rd spot. And he is really coming to life, showing the strength and flexing some muscle there as Kyle tries to stay on the inside. But watch Labonte come off the corner. He puts the foot in the metal, and that Beecher Hetland motor prepared in the shop's only 8 miles away. Moves around Kyle Petty. He would like to run down Jeff Bodine. And, you know, talking about Bodine, Jeff has had a rough year. He has had only one good finish on the short tracks, that coming in 2nd at Richmond. He did finish 3rd at Martinsville back in March of this year, but it's the only top 5 finish he's had since then was that race at Martinsville. He has just had an abysmal season. He should have won Martinsville, was spun or got into contact with Kyle Petty with a few laps to go. This last Martinsville race last week, he was about to lap the field when he got involved as a victim in an accident. It's just been that kind of year for Jeff Bodine.
You see there the interval between Bodine and Terry Labonte. It's closing up rapidly as now Bodine works some slower race traffic, and Terry Labonte watches in the number 11 car. And in the pit area is Davey Allison. They pulled that car off of pit road, and they're working on it, changing some springs to perhaps give Davey a better ride in the Haviland Ford. Let's go to Dick Berggren, who is right there.
Well, Bob, you called it exactly. That's just what they're doing. They're adjusting this automobile. This is a brand new car. These guys have very little short track experience together as a team. They came here to practice, to get things dialed in for the 1988 season when they hope to make a run on the championship. So they're just going to sort of make this a several attempt practice session, and they are changing the rear springs in the automobile.
And Dick, this is only Davey Allison's 2nd short track start of the year. He started at Richmond, Virginia, was involved in a crash and got a 26th place finish. But Davey certainly no slouch with the kind of year he's had so far. Tremendous season for Davey Allison. 2 wins at Talladega and Dover, 4 poles, Rockingham, Daytona, Michigan, and Darlington. And as you said, they're going to run all 30 races, possibly 29 or 30 next year on the Winston Cup Tour.
Now to the other end of the pit area, and Gary.
You know, Bob, it's not often I get a chance to cover a Winston Cup race, and I've often wondered exactly what Junior Johnson should be if he's not involved in racing. I think Junior Johnson would make a great dean of students at the high school or college level because he never changes expressions. If he's happy, if he's unhappy, he never changes expressions. I walked over, his car's now in 3rd position. I said, "Is the chassis okay, Junior?" He just looked at me, stared right through me, and shook his head yes. So apparently everything is okay, but again, no change of expression in Junior Johnson's face.
Very unemotional man, but a car owner and former driver who knows what he is doing. Terry Labonte has a bit of pressure on him to win this race as Junior's driver.
Well, the pressure's been on all season, you know. Of course, I think the closer you get to the end, a little bit more pressure there, but the thing that's bad about our year is the fact that we've come close several times and missed those chances, and you can't ever make them up. You know, you just got to go out and get some more chances. And so this will be of all the races left to win, this will be the one I'd love to win more than any of them, probably.
He certainly still has a chance to do it. We have not reached the halfway point yet, and Terry has gallantly fought back to 3rd position after an encounter with the 4th turn wall. Terry Labonte from Corpus Christi, Texas, originally. Right ahead of him is the 2nd place car of Jeff Bodine.
Talking about Junior Johnson never getting rattled, Hank Schofield, the PR director for this track, told me about one time Junior got rattled back when he was being sponsored by a chicken concern, a chicken company. Junior brought a car here and decided to qualify it with Wilkesboro with a chicken in the car. And he did. He ran 2 laps of qualifying, came in, said he'll never do that again. So it took him a week to get Junior clean and the car cleaned out. But here's the leader down pit road. The Wrangler Chevrolet, and Gary Lee is there.
Tell you what, you can't be a chicken to work or cover these pit areas because there's just no room whatsoever. Your Wrangler Jeans machine is in. The leader getting right side rubber. Topping off, it'll be a 4-tire change. They're working on the right side. The first dump tank is in. The second dump can is up. Apparently, they're only changing right side tires. Only a right side tire change. 15.7 seconds, a quick stop for your leader, Dale Earnhardt.
So we had the cluck on Dale Earnhardt's pit stop, and it was 15.7 seconds. Now here comes Bill Elliott in for a stop, as we're beginning to see the front runners now make their routine second stop of the afternoon, as Jeff Bodine continues to stay out there. Rusty Wallace has made a pit stop, so has Bill Elliott in right now. Jeff Bodine assumes the lead of the Holly Farms 400.
About 16 seconds flat for Rusty Wallace. 2 right side tires for the Kodiak Pontiac. Same likewise for Bill Elliott in the Coors Ford. There's the leader. That is Jeff Bodine, the Levi Garrett Chevrolet, and Gary Nelson and the crew should be getting ready very soon to bring him down pit road. Sterling Marlin makes an exit on the pit road or entry. Here is Kyle Petty, as we are getting green flag stops. And remember, with that first caution flag about lap 25 or so, they can run about 160 green flag laps, and that's exactly what they've done. We are showing 180 laps here, and there's Kyle Petty, Sitco Ford, the Wood brothers, Leonard Wood, the right front tire. There they are. That's Lynn Wood, the right rear. 2 tires and fuel. 17 and 2/10 seconds for Kyle Petty. Good stop for the Wood brothers.
And Jeff Bodine continues to stay out there, but he'll have to come in for a stop before very long. Meanwhile, the Bud Moore crew is working on Ricky Rudd, getting him serviced. The tires have been changed, the fuel is in the car, and there goes Rudd back out onto the racetrack as Darrell Waltrip comes in. And Jeff Bodine, involved in some race traffic, stays out there. Look at Terry Labonte. He is right behind Jeff Bodine. Waltrip's crew goes to work, changing rubber on the right side of that car.
Eddie Dickerson and the crew there working on the Waltrip car, putting fuel in, and Dick Berggren is down there. Dick?
Well, one of the interesting things is the sequence of these pit stops, because they give us an indication of fuel mileage. Waltrip is one of the latter cars to come in. He's getting pretty decent fuel mileage. We have yet to see Bodine come in. Earnhardt was the first in. His fuel mileage all year has been lousy.
Terry Labonte sneaking up on Jeff Bodine in the battle for first position. Both Chevrolet staying out there. And now Labonte looks to the inside in turn number 1 as Ricky Rudd pulls alongside Terry Labonte. But remember, Rudd has made his pit stop. Rudd situates himself between Jeff Bodine and the second place car as Richard Petty now moves in for a pit stop.
The 7-time Winston Cup champion gets his pit work as there's the leader, Jeff Bodine. It looks like Gary Nelson and the crew getting busy on pit road, getting ready to bring the leader in, and he will all likely let Rudd go by so he can make a clean entry on the pit road.
Let's see if he does it this lap. He will not. Both Bodine and Terry Labonte stay out there, and Labonte a little squirrely coming off of corner number 4. Now nose to tail racing.
Planning a pit stop is very important here at Wilkesboro, not only because you have to calculate fuel mileage, but you have to calculate when the people pitting around you are going to be there. You want a clean pit road. And we looked, and Benny Parsons was pitting just above Jeff Bodine, so they waved Bodine off. But one car they didn't wave off is Terry Labonte. The Budweiser Chevy is headed down pit road. That marked car heads for Junior Johnson, Pete Wright, Tim Brewer, and the crew. Dick Berggren is there. Dick?
Yeah, they sure are ready for him. They've been ready for him for several laps. They're checking the tires on the left side, doing what almost everybody else has done. 2 cans of fuel and right side tires. No chassis adjustments here on Labonte's car, and he's off. Jerry?
Great pit stop there. 15 and 3/10 seconds. Pete Wright jerked the jack out from beneath it. And here's the leader, Jeff Bodine. Gary Lee is there.
Good area, right side tires for Jeff Bodine. He's one of the last to come in, so he's getting good fuel mileage. Gary Nelson with a chassis adjustment on the rear of the car, a minor one. Tires have been changed. Fuel slow going in. Bodine now away.
17-second stop for Jeff Bodine. Morgan Shepherd has also come in, so all the front runners have made pit stops under green. And the lead is now assumed by Dale Earnhardt once again. He is able to maintain that advantage after all of these green pit stops. We'll be back with live coverage from the North Wilkesboro, North Carolina Speedway and the Holly Farms. Bob Jenkins, Jerry Punch, Gary Lee, and Dick Berggren back at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina Speedway in the Holly Farms 400 Winston Cup race, the last short track race of 1987. We are under a caution because of the fact that we believe the ambulance has to cross the track and take someone to the hospital, and we don't have a complete report on that, but we believe that's the reason for the yellow. In any case, the caution flag has come out, and speeds are reduced. Now, several have come in for another pit stop under this caution, although they just made pit stops a few laps ago. And Terry Labonte is the first car behind the pace car, so he'll be shown in the lead with Dale Earnhardt second. Third will be Jeff Bodine. Fourth is going to be Morgan Shepherd, and fifth, Bill Elliott. Those 5 cars on the lead lap.
You might wonder why cars would come back in at pit after just having pitted under green. Well, you know, under green flag, they only get 2 tires, 2 right side tires. Most everyone, the leaders, of course, Labonte, Rusty Wallace, Earnhardt, everyone coming back in for left side tires. You have fresh rubber all the way around and top those fuel tanks off.
So the field is slowed, but the ambulance is not moving from its backstretch position, so perhaps that isn't the reason for the caution. And we haven't heard officially from NASCAR what the reason for the caution flag is. But nevertheless, we are at reduced speed, and the field has bunched up, and we'll be right back. Back in North Wilkesboro, and the green flag will be coming out in another 1/4 of a lap as the field is in turn number 3 and the pace car is accelerating to get off of the racetrack. Labonte is the leader. Benny Parsons is the driver on the inside, and there is the individual who was injured, and instead of taking him in an ambulance outside of the track, they simply walked him across the track. So no serious injury, we believe, but nevertheless that was the reason for the caution flag. We are back to racing, and perhaps Gary Lee, as Terry Labonte takes off into the lead, can tell us more about the situation. Gary?
Yes, Bob, I can. The injured crew member working with the Bobby Allison Miller American number 22 was Mark Osborne. He actually was clipped in the lip, or in the mouth, with the air hose following the pit stop. We are told he lost at least 1 tooth. It split the lip that may require some stitches. So he's being taken to the hospital for examination, observation, and perhaps some stitches. Mark Osborne, otherwise okay, but that was an altercation here in the pit area.
All right, that's the word on the reason for the caution flag. We are back to racing now, and Labonte is the leader. And some good racing going on there behind the leaders. That is Rusty Wallace, Morgan Shepherd, Richard Petty, Ricky Rudd, Darrell Waltrip, Phil Parsons, and others, as we have 2 and 3 of best racing.
And Bob, halfway that time by. Harold Kinder holds the cross flags up there. 200 laps complete and 200 to go. Rusty Wallace, the 6th place car, not coming up to speed there. There's the 5th place car of Bill Elliott, or actually Elliott now showing in 4th spot, as Morgan Shepherd is the 5th place car. But Rusty Wallace's car there, Richard Petty trying to make a move inside Wallace. His car really getting loose here. You have to be concerned. Maybe he's got a tire going down, or possibly a problem. His car certainly not coming to speed like he would like it to.
So at the midway point, here is our Napa mid-race recap. The leader was Terry Labonte, although he had only led 6 of the 200 laps. Earnhardt has led far and away most of the laps in the first half of this event. The margin about 1 second. We have 8 cars on the lead lap. There have been 4 leaders and 6 lead changes, 2 caution periods for a total of 11 laps. The attrition rate really has not been all that great this afternoon, as Slick Johnson has dropped out in car number 81, and so is Harry Gant in number 33. And one other car that is on pit road at the moment is Dave Marcus, but I don't think he has been officially declared out of competition. So Junior Johnson's Budweiser Chevrolet has gone into the lead with Terry Labonte. Dale Earnhardt has moved to 2nd. Jeff Bodine is 3rd. Back with more live coverage in just a moment. The first significant crash of the race has just occurred. Steve Chrisman tags the wall between turns 1 and 2. Also involved was Hut Strickland, and I believe it was caused by Chrisman losing a motor and dropping oil on the racetrack, because Strickland got into trouble because of that, and there was also a fire under that Steve Chrisman machine. So I believe it was caused by a blown engine.
Well, the safety crews are there, Bob, and they have extinguished the fire. Chrisman is told, and as all drivers told in the NASCAR drivers meeting, to stay in the car, keep the belts tight, keep them hooked up, and stay put unless the car is on fire. And of course the fire had basically gone out. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened to Steve Chrisman, rookie driver from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Now going into turn 1, Camera rotates, and there is Larry Pollard spinning. The flames beneath the AC spark plug Pontiac as Crispin tags the wall. And of course, poor old Hut Strickland had nowhere to go, got in the oil, he tagged the wall as well. Crispin's car slides around toward turn 2, and there it's come to a halt. There's Crispin standing at the front of the car. He has climbed out, talking to the safety crew. He is okay, but the car will need a lot of work before they go to Charlotte next week.
And I'm afraid the track is going to be under caution for quite a while, because there is oil to clean up, plus this powder that was put down from the Crispin fire is going to take a little while to clean up. So we're likely to be under caution here for quite some time. So the situation is third caution of the afternoon. Steve Crispin tags the wall in turn number 1, but is okay. While we have the opportunity, we'll pause again for these messages.
Oh, they're putting out a fire in the 62 car. It's going to be several laps.
Terry Labonte leads the Holly Farms 400 with 209 laps completed. Dale Earnhardt is second, Jeff Bodine third, Bill Elliott runs fourth, and Morgan Shepherd is fifth. So we ran a number of laps here under green, and now we have had 2 caution periods almost back to back, as one was caused by a crew member who was injured and needed to cross the racetrack, and now this accident involving Steve Crispin from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Steve is okay. You can see him there standing beside the car with his helmet, but he tagged the wall pretty good, as did Hut Strickland. Jerry?
A lot of fire from beneath the car. The engine explodes here. You're going into the corner about 114 or 15 miles per hour. The car skids like it's on ice and tags the concrete wall. All those campers parked around have bird's eye view of what's happening. They parked there between turns 1 and 2, Camper Row here at Wilkesboro, and they got an eyeful. It's the Crispin car now being hooked up by the safety crew. Steve there overseeing everything. He is a driver that has had a lot of short track experience around the Midwest area, the ASA and ARTCO circuits. Came to NASCAR, ran the ARCA race at Daytona back in February, had an impressive run. He impressed the NASCAR officials so much they decided to let him go ahead and run, even with limited super speedway experience, to run the Daytona 500 or try to qualify. He's had a respectable year in the rookie season. They have not exactly had the best of luck, as that indicates today, but they have had a pretty good year and hope to have a good season next year in the Tom Winkle-owned racing team.
So while the Crispin accident is being cleaned up and the field is running under yellow, we'll give you an indication of some of the safety features on Winston Cup cars. Track Facts are brought to you by the Robert Bosch Corporation, makers of Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug.
About a year ago, NASCAR standardized the safety netting in the windows of these Winston Cup cars by putting 2 seatbelt clamps on the rod, so the safety crew could come to a car, simply unclamp the seatbelts, and get the driver out. Well, they found out a problem a few months ago at Daytona when Ken Schrader's car flipped on the front stretch. Schrader could not release this back clamp because it's almost too difficult for him to get turned around while strapped in the seat to reach it. Well, an adjustment was made in the rule. Now they simply have 1 clamp and a rod. The rod slides back into place, and Bill Wilburn here, part of the STP crew, will show us that clamp's in the position. Now if the driver's in an accident, he merely reaches up for the 1 clamp, pops it loose, pulls the rod, and he's out of the car. Safety made easy by NASCAR.
We are at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, under caution with 213 laps completed. At the moment, the leader of this race is Terry Labonte.
And that was Steve Crispin. Steve, was that as tough a lick as it looked?
No, it wasn't too bad. I took a solid broadside hit.
What happened?
I lost the engine going into turn 1.
You're all right?
Yeah, fine.
Steve Crispin, he's out of it today for sure.
All right, while Crispin waits on the sidelines, Rusty Wallace still very much in competition. We'll try to contact him on the radio.
Rusty Wallace and Jerry Punch at ESPN. Rusty, do you have a handling problem with the car they're working on during this caution stop?
Yeah, me and Dale got tangled up just a little bit on a restart, and I bent the toe in on the left front. That's the problem.
You're a lap down now, Rusty. Do you feel like you got a shot at getting it back here at Wilkesboro?
Well, we'll have to see. I tell you, these guys are working pretty hard. The car's just not right, but we got another 200 laps left to go. We'll keep working on it.
All right, his crew now trying to talk to Rusty, so we'll get off and let them converse, as we should be going back to green here in just 1 more lap. Now, a couple of drivers benefited from that caution because they had not made a pit stop, but then did after the caution came out. And Alan Kulwicki and Neil Bonnet both are back on the lead lap.
So that'll put us 7 cars in the lead lap, Bob, with the last car back there being Bonnet. Now, he just came in for a late pit stop just a lap ago and took a new right rear tire on.
Here we go, back to green, as Terry Labonte will lead them down with Earnhardt in second. Jeff Bodine is in third. Bill Elliott, then Alan Kulwicki, Morgan Shepherd, and Neil Bonnet. Those cars on the lead lap. Green comes back out again. Look at Dale Earnhardt working the high side of the racetrack, passing Benny Parsons down the backstretch. But now Terry Labonte still has the advantage, although Earnhardt is sneaking up, giving him a little bump there in the rear as they come off the fourth corner. It is still Labonte leading. Terry has led for the last several laps, but because of this caution, the field is now bunched up, and we'll see if Earnhardt can make a run at him. Look at Bill Elliott working the high side of the racetrack. Jeff Bodine in the yellow and white number 5 is in third, and Bill Elliott is in fourth. 2 abreast racing. Jeff Bodine for the moment caught behind Richard Petty, and that's Ricky Rudd positioned between Bodine and Bill Elliott.
Richard Petty being shown as the 8th place car, 1 lap down. He's the first car of the lap cars. We mentioned 7 cars in the lead lap. There is Bill Elliott. Elliott running awfully well here. He would like to get a good finish today. Bodine just cannot get around Richard Petty, and Richard running awfully well. They had that car dialed in.
Pontiac leading Chevy and Ford. The breakdown when we started this race was 12 Chevrolets, 8 Fords, 5 Pontiacs, 4 Oldsmobiles, and 3 Buicks. But a Chevy is leading, a Chevy is in second, a Chevy is in third, then Bill Elliott's Ford in fourth, and the Buick of Morgan Shepherd in fifth.
Take a look at the front of the car number 9 as it comes by. We'll get a shot as it come out of turn 4 next time. You can look at the grill in that Coors Ford. It is mashed in somewhat. There's the front of the car number 9. That grill having been shoved in with some of the short track framming and bamming. And that may be a problem as the afternoon continues. The car may overheat. That's what happened to Ricky Rudd a week ago. His grill at Martinsville got shoved in. The car overheated and he had to park it. So keep an eye on Elliott. Maybe a problem. It may not be if they get a pit stop and get to pull some of that grill work away. But the nose cone of that Coors Melling Ford has been blunted somewhat by short track competition.
Well, we have not seen a great amount of bumping and banging and exchanging of paint that we have seen in the past years here at North Wilkesboro. So perhaps the conference that the NASCAR officials had with the drivers in their drivers meeting today did some good, because the drivers were warned very sternly that NASCAR would not tolerate any horse sense out there on the racetrack, and they would be placed in the penalty box if we did have something like that happen, and we just have not come close to seeing anything like that occur so far.
Bob, there's a battle between 5th and 6th there. That is Alan Kulwicki, the 5th place car, and Morgan Shepherd from Quaker State Buick showing in 6th. Again, we have 7 cars on the lead lap. Neil Bonnet being the 7th place car, but those 2 cars there, the Ford and the Buick. For Kulwicki and Shepherd, of course, Bobby Hillen's car is a lap down. He is being shown in 11th, and the car number 17 would be the 12th place car. That, of course, is Darrell Waltrip. There is Hillen and Waltrip just behind the 5th and 6th place cars of Kulwicki and Shepherd.
Well, Alan Kulwicki was talked about in the past few weeks concerning his future for 1988, but I guess he's pretty much decided that he will stay with his own team and continue in that vein.
Kulwicki had a couple of opportunities, and there were some pretty decent rides. 3 or 4 people talked to him, but he likes to run his own team. He has gotten Billy Engel. Many people remember Billy Engel. He was a former Junior Johnson crew member and was a very instrumental person on Neil Bonnet's team last year when Neil Bonnet had the crew chief, Tim Brewer. Engel was the guy that actually pulled Terry Labonte out of the car here when Labonte got out on the pace lap here earlier in the year. Morgan Shepherd now makes a move. Bob, it takes over 5th spot.
As a matter of fact, he does. Morgan Shepherd, who has run strong all afternoon, moves to 5th, and Kulwicki back to 6th. There is Darrell Waltrip in car number 17, but remember, he is a lap down to the rest of the field. So So it appears at this time that Waltrip does not have a real good chance of winning this race, but it's relatively easy to make up a lap here at North Wilkesboro, and Darrell is hoping that he can do so before the checkered flag drops. Moving alongside now of Alan Kulwicki, coming out of turn number 2 and down the backstretch, side-by-side race, and Waltrip passes Alan Kulwicki to the inside. We hope you're enjoying today's live coverage here at North Wilkesboro. There's the interval between first and second. It's Terry Labonte leading, and running in second is Dale Earnhardt. At the Holly Farms 400 at North Wilkesboro, we've only had 3 caution periods during this race. The first one was brought out on lap number 39 when Terry Labonte cut a tire and slid along the 4th turn wall. And the most serious yellow flag incident involves Steve Chrisman, who tagged the wall up in turns 1 and 2, but he was uninjured. Let's go to Gary Lee.
You know, Bob, racing is a sport of the haves and the have-nots. It's also a sport where the haves try to help out the have-nots. A brand new Goodyear Eagle racing tire will cost $175, so many teams will buy used tires. Buddy Arrington, for an example, has struck a deal with Bill Elliott. 2 crew members from the Arrington team just came down here and bought 4 used tires. The tires that were just taken off the Elliott machine during the last round of pit stops will be placed on the Buddy Arrington car 67 the next time in. We're not sure what the value of a used tire is, but the deal has been struck between Buddy and Bill. Well, it's been a good ride so far from the back of the pack to the front of the pack for one number car 11. Let's get more on that from Dick Berggren.
Yeah, we're going to find out about that from Tim Brewer, his crew chief. Tim, is that car squared away? Is it running well, or is Terry leading on Hart? Is he running 10-10?
Well, you know, when we lost a tire earlier in the race, we got a little bit behind, but fortunately it didn't damage the characteristics of the car any. As far as is he running hard, anytime you're in front of Dale Earnhardt, you're running hard, believe me. The guy's awful tough, and right now, Terry, he's just hanging on and doing whatever he can do. But we were awful lucky earlier today, you know, when we had that problem coming off 4. But we'll just have to wait and see now, I guess.
A lot of fingers crossed in this pits, guys.
Well, Terry has moved out to a 2-second advantage on Dale Earnhardt. So Earnhardt is not threatening at the moment. The question is he just biding his time and laying back in second position, or is Terry indeed the fastest car on the racetrack?
I think it's the latter. I think Labonte is running awfully well. I can't imagine Dale Earnhardt, the competitor that he is, biding his time. I know that Richard Childress has tried to calm the boy down, as he says, and tell him to be careful and take it easy, and they basically have the Winston Cup title wrapped up. But I still believe that he would like to lead here if he possibly could.
Meanwhile, we go back and check on this 3rd and 4th place situation. That is Jeff Bodine on the far left of your screen. The number 15 car of Ricky Rudd is a lap down. Then the 9 car of Bill Elliott, who is on the lead lap and challenging Jeff Bodine for that 3rd position. And then right behind Bill is the Quaker State Buick, driven by Morgan Shepherd, and he also is in this battle.
Bob, we saw Tim Brewer just a minute ago, and Brewer, who is only 32 years old, has been a crew chief for a long time. He was a crew chief for Richard Childress back when Childress ran an independent operation in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He was seen by Junior Johnson and said, that's a talented young fellow. I want to bring him up here and make him work for me, and eventually he'll do something, and he has. In fact, Brewer has been a crew chief for winning drivers. Listen to this: Cale Yarborough, Darrell Waltrip, Tim Richmond, and Neil Bonnet all have won here at North Wilkesboro, with Tim Brewer as the crew chief.
You combine that with Junior Johnson, you may have a winning combination. Now, on lap number 39, when Terry had the tire problem, bringing out the caution, he dropped to 22nd position and was the last car on the lead lap. He took the lead on lap number 194 and has led ever since. So indeed, you may be right, Jerry. It is a situation where Labonte is just very, very strong. Now, Elliott and Jeff Bodine are nose to tail out there. Benny Parsons is the 35 Folger Chevy on the high side of the racetrack, but Bodine and Bill Elliott go inside of Benny. And there is Morgan Shepherd also. It's a 3-car battle for second, make that 3rd position. Couple of green cars there running side by side. Quaker State on the inside, and the Folgers decaffeinated coffee machine with Benny Parsons behind the wheel on the outside.
there were some question marks about the Bill Elliott short track program in years past, and they brought Ivan Baldwin on board at the beginning of this year to help him with the short track program. Well, Ivan has since gone. After the Richmond race a few weeks ago, Ivan left the operation, and everyone said, well, that's the end of the Elliott short track ability. Well, that's not the case at all. Ernie Elliott told me yesterday that he is back now at the short tracks. He will be running the operation at all the speedways with the exiting of Ivan Baldwin, and they are certainly showing well today.
And Jerry, one of the very interesting rumors, and that's certainly all you can label it as at this point, is the fact that there was some speculation that Elliott may not be back with the Elliott team next year. What do you think about that?
Well, I tell you, I've heard the same things you have, and there are a lot of rumors, and I find that a little bit hard to believe. Bill is awfully close to his brothers Dan and Ernie, and they have been so successful. Now, last year, it was almost a possibility, and everyone knows that Junior Johnson and Bill Elliott had some meetings and talked about 2/3 of the way through the season. And it was just about to be a reality that Elliott would drive Junior Johnson Chevrolet or whatever. Maybe it could have been a Ford, I don't know. But that didn't come to be, and Elliott is back with the Harry Melling Coors team. And I think that Bill also knows Harry Melling has been there when they needed him. He bought the team years ago. He brought it together, brought the sponsorship along, and he has made them what they are today to some extent. Harry Melling certainly owns the Melling Pumps team out of Jackson, Michigan. A team based in Dawsonville, Georgia, has put this team together, and I think Bill and Ernie and Dan are awfully appreciative of what he's done.
Well, you really can't argue with his success this year. He is second to Dale Earnhardt in Winston Cup points, trailing Dale by 568. And he has won 3 times this year on the Winston Cup circuit at Rockingham. And he challenges Jeff Bodine now to the inside. And Elliott goes around Jeff Bodine, moving into 3rd. And now Morgan Shepherd will see what he can do with Jeff Bodine. Bodine sliding high onto the racetrack, and Morgan Shepherd getting his nose to the inside, but Jeff Bodine hanging on.
Well, apparently the handle of the Levi Garrett Chevrolet has gone away somewhat. Bodine's car is skittering coming out of the corners, getting awfully loose. There's the leader, Terry Labonte, and he's trying to make a move and put the car number 18 of Dale Jarrett another lap down.
255 laps completed here at North Wilkesboro. There are the top 5. We'll be back with more of our live coverage after this. We're back at North Wilkesboro, and the battle on the racetrack is for 4th, and that is the number 26 car of Morgan Shepherd that has passed the 5 car of Jeff Bodine, and so Morgan Shepherd is in 4th now. Bodine back to 5th. The top 5: Labonte, Earnhardt, then Elliott, then Shepherd, and then Jeff Bodine. Let's go to the pit area.
Well, Bob, the problem with Jeff Bodine's car, according to his crew chief Gary Nelson, is that it's a bit loose. This is a bad time to have the car a bit loose. We're still quite a ways away from the next round of scheduled pit stops. On a warm afternoon like this is becoming, the car is going to only get worse. It's not going to get better. Bodine needs a pit stop to tighten up the back of the automobile.
Well, he was running so strong there in the first 50 or 75 laps of the race, and now the handling apparently has gone away, and Bodine's certainly not at the pace that he was earlier.
You can pretty much tell the car is loose, but watching Bodine's groove, watching in turn 3, the car goes up across the racetrack, running almost the middle groove up there. Now he comes out of the corner, and he is not able to keep the car down low like Darrell Waltrip is. He is moving his hands back and forth like he's swatting flies inside the Levi Garrett Chevrolet. He's just moving that steering wheel back and forth, trying to keep the car in a straight line, but the rear of the car is skittering out.
Now the other 2 drivers on the lead lap, besides the 5 that we gave you just a few minutes ago, Alan Kulwicki is 6th on the lead lap, and so is Neil Bonnet in car 75. Then a lap down, Richard Petty, Darrell Waltrip, who you see there with Jeff Bodine. Kyle Petty is 10th, Ricky Rudd is 11th, Bobby Hillen Jr. is 12th, 13th is Rusty Wallace, 14th is Phil Parsons, 15th is Ken Schrader, in 16th position 2 laps down, Benny Parsons, and in 17th also 2 laps down, Michael Waltrip. But here comes Darrell Waltrip as he has been able to move by Jeff Bodine.
Bob, we alluded to the fact that there would be some driver changes earlier in the week. There have been some more speculations and some more announcements made. We mentioned that Kenny Schrader will be the driver for the Folgers Hendrick Harry Hyde team. That's the ride vacated by the illness of Tim Richmond. As we take a look at the leader now, Terry Labonte, getting ready to make a move. Good shot from the Hardee's race cab inside Neil Bonnet's car. The Valvoline Pontiac as they go around Ernie Irvin. But as Labonte makes that move, we mentioned the fact that Ricky Rudd will go to the Quaker State Bernstein team. Replacing Rudd at Bud Moore will be Brett Bodine. Morgan Shepherd is due to form his own team. We understand Joe Rutland will be coming back with a new team. Who will drive the Dunleavy car, the Red Baron Pizza car? Well, we've heard that possibly Dale Jarrett may get an opportunity in that car, and what an impressive year he has had. The young driver from Conover, second-generation driver, son of Ned Jarrett, possibly Doug Hemron. He was very impressive yesterday, winning the modified race. And the latest rumor, and the fellow who just may climb in that car, our buddy Benny Parsons, maybe aboard the car number 90 for 1988. Those three drivers are the top three candidates there. Well, Gary Nelson, he may leave the car number 5 and run an R&D program, research and development, for Rick Hendrick in a 6 or 8 race schedule, or he may go somewhere else for Rick Hendrick if he buys another team on the Winston Cup Tour. Bob Johnson, the crew chief for Kenny Schrader, will be leaving that team. He will be joining up with Kenny Bouchard, younger brother for Ron Bouchard, and Bob Whitcomb has bought the Dygard operation, and Whitcomb will own that. Kenny Bouchard will drive it, and Bob Johnson will be the chief wrench. We mentioned Rodney Combs may have a new deal for next year. Hut Strickland, who has the Skip Janey car here, has since retired, being involved in an accident over in turns 1 and 2 with Steve Crispin. He will run a 15-race schedule in 88 in that car number 76. And we'll talk some more about what's coming up. We have some other possible speculation, some definite maybes on what will happen in 88.
Well, it's an interesting time of year as decisions are being made and positions being sought for the 1988 Winston Cup season. Well, Terry Labonte has disposed now of both Neil Bonnet and Alan Kulwicki, so they both go a lap down, and now there are 5 cars again on the lead lap. The leader is Terry Labonte from Corpus Christi, Texas. Labonte started this race in 4th position in the Budweiser Chevrolet, driving for Junior Johnson. And aside from a time in which Dale Earnhardt led for a while, it's been all Terry Labonte, and he's been able to keep about the same interval between himself and Dale Earnhardt here in the past 50 or 75 laps or so. At North Wilkesboro, 273 out of 400 laps completed. There are the top 5: Labonte, Earnhardt, Elliott, Shepherd, and Jeff Bodine. We're back at North Wilkesboro for Winston Cup racing on this Sunday afternoon. We're glad you could join us. Terry Labonte leads, Dale Earnhardt, Bill Elliott, Morgan Shepherd, and Jeff Bodine. Gary Lee is down in the pit area.
Well, actually, now I want to see a show of hands. How many of you out there have taken home a used racing tire as a souvenir? If you have, I'm in your heaven. We're back here in the Goodyear truck. Now, Goodyear provides only a right side and a left side compound for these Winston Cup cars. Most major teams will mount up 8 or 9 sets, but during every yellow, the major teams will change all 4 tires. So sometimes during the running of the race, a crew member will actually bring some rims back here, maybe the entire rim and tire assembly, take the tire off, mount up some new tires. So it can be a very active area, but I tell you what, if you like tires as souvenirs, you'd love to be here with me.
Now, Gary all weekend has been complaining about the cool weather and having to work the pit area, and we can see now that he's moved inside a truck where it's nice and warm. Way to go, Gary. The field summary as we present those cars that are on the racetrack. Now, that is Terry Labonte, our leader, in the number 11 Budweiser car. And right behind him is Ricky Rudd, who is in the Bud Moore car. Ricky started in 12th position, currently 11th. We pan back and pick up the next car, and that is our 2nd place driver, Dale Earnhardt from Kannapolis, North Carolina. He started 10th, currently runs 2nd.
Behind him would be Alan Kulwicki, the young driver, reigning Rookie of the Year on the tour. Alan from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, currently being shown in 6th spot overall in the Z-Rex Ford. Back behind him, we see Benny Parsons in the Folgers Chevrolet. There's BP, veteran campaigner, and his brother Phil Parsons just going around Benny. They're battling door to door. Older and younger brother Benny. Benny the older, Phil the younger brother in the Skoll car. As they are back, Phil being shown in 14th place. There is our Hardee's Race Cam car. That's the Valvoline Pontiac for Neil Bonnet, former winner here back in 1985. He won the first Union 400 driving for the Budweiser team of Junior Johnson. There's a look at Neil Bonnet. Trouble all afternoon for Neil Bonnet. The car vibrating. He didn't manage to get back in the lead lap. Now he's being shown 1 lap down in 7th spot.
And as we go back out onto the racetrack to summarize the field, there is Ken Schrader in the number 90 car. Ken started 6th, is currently in 15th. He's from Fenton, Missouri in the Red Baron Frozen Pizza 4. Davey Allison has not had a particularly good race here this afternoon. He is currently in 26th, and the car began the race from 22nd position. He's been in and out of the pits all afternoon, and his attempt at working into the short tracks is an experimental thing here this afternoon.
And there's Cuckoo Marlin, Cuckoo and Eula Faye's #1 son, Sterling Marlin. Sterling from Columbia, Tennessee, 30 years of age, running the Piedmont Airlines Underalls Oldsmobile. Not having a great run. Sterling currently being shown back in the field in 20th spot.
Dale Jarrett from Hickory, North Carolina, drives this Coates and Clark Chevrolet, owned by Eric Friedlander, car number 18. He started this race in 19th and is currently 18th.
Panning back to the leader of the Alabama gang, Bobby Allison. Allison in the car number 22, currently showing at 19th spot. Bobby Allison, a 4-time winner here at North Wilkesboro, making start number 700 in his career today.
Then it's Michael Waltrip in the number 30 All-Pro Chevrolet. Michael Waltrip is in 17th after a 7th place start. We have a bit of an interval here between Michael Waltrip and the next car, which is that of Bill Elliott. Elliott currently is in 3rd, and his starting position, of course, was number 1. He was the pole sitter.
There's Ronnie Thomas from Christiansburg, Virginia, the Bush Polished Chevrolet. Ronnie, now an infrequent campaigner on the Winston Cup Tour, would like to run more, just doesn't have the sponsorship. Good looking race car. The 2nd generation driver, son of Jabe Thomas, that is Ron. And there's a 7-time Winston Cup champion, Richard Petty. 50 years of age. Richard showing well in 8th spot. Richard Petty in the familiar STP colors.
A couple of cars running side by side here, moving out of around the number 64 car of Trevor Boys is Morgan Shepherd, car number 26. Car owned by Kenny Bernstein. Morgan Shepherd currently is in 4th. His starting position was 9th. Right behind him is Darrell Waltrip, last week's winner at Martinsville, Virginia, in the Tide Chevrolet. Darrell is in 9th position, but is a lap down, and he started outside of row number 1.
And there's 27-year-old Kyle Petty, the Sitco Ford from the Wood Brothers stable in Stewart, Virginia. Kyle in the car number 21, currently being shown 10th, just inside the top 10. Kyle having finished 2nd earlier this year in the April 1st Union 400.
And then we get back to a battle for the lead. Look at Dale Earnhardt, who has moved right up on the rear bumper of Terry Labonte. And there is Jeff Bodine running in number 5. He is in 5th position and about to go a lap down to Labonte. Let's see what happens here. Oh, and Bodine fighting to maintain control of that Chevrolet. Labonte is right behind him. Now Jeff is moving aside and letting Terry pass to the inside. And here will come Dale Earnhardt also.
Labonte is going inside of Jeff Bodine. Bodine is helpless there. His car handling so poorly. You heard Dick Berggren talking to Gary Nelson a little bit ago. Whoa, a little bit of tag there between Bodine and Dale Earnhardt. Bodine's car really drifting high in turn 1.
Well, maybe we're seeing the beginning of some excitement here, as a little bit of a nudge occurred between Jeff Bodine and Dale Earnhardt. But nevertheless, Terry Labonte has been able to keep the lead through all of this, but now it's going to get interesting because he is approaching a whole group of slower cars, and that could definitely play a factor in who comes out as the leader.
Let's take a look at this little bit of nudge. Here's Earnhardt trying to stay close to Labonte. He just pulls up in the groove there, and Bodine is there. The right front of Earnhardt's car, the left front of Bodine's car, contact, and a little bit of bobbing and weaving.
So Labonte now beginning to work some slower traffic. Ronnie Thomas in car number 41 is passed by Labonte. That's Kyle Petty in the number 21 machine. There were are some cars that we were not able to get to in the field summary because we are now concentrating on this battle for the lead, including car number 52. That's Jimmy Means, who is still out there. Ernie Irvin in number 6 is still out, as is the number 12 machine of Larry Pollard. Trevor Boyes is still in the race in car number 64. The number 8 car of Bobby Hillen Jr. and Rusty Wallace, who we had a brief shot of in the field summary ahead of Terry Labonte at that time, but he has since been passed by them.
Only showing 6 cars out at this point in time, Bob, and not bad at all for attrition. We're pushing 300 laps here at North Wilkesboro Speedway, and you know, we still have of the 32 cars started, we still have 26 running, so pretty good field. Labonte now beginning to open up a little bit. His car handling awfully well, and we mentioned earlier, Junior Johnson was not worried at all. He was not concerned when Gary Lee talked to him about that first caution flag caused by a right front tire going down on his driver.
300 laps have been completed, 100 to go in the Holly Farms 400. We'll take a break and be right back with more. Pace continues to be set by Terry Labonte as we're back in the Neil Bonnet machine in the Hardee's race cam. There is the leader, Labonte, but right on his back bumper is Dale Earnhardt. They pass now the Kenny Bernstein car of Morgan Shepherd. Labonte on the outside. Now Earnhardt decides he'll go there also. And now the number 26 car of Morgan Shepherd has been lapped, and there are only 3 cars on the lead lap besides Labonte and Earnhardt. Bill Elliott, the only other one with these guys.
We got to be wondering what can be the pit strategy coming up as we wind down here at Wilkesboro Speedway. When will Labonte make a pit stop? What will they do? How about Earnhardt's pits? And maybe we can check in down on pit road and find out exactly maybe what the pit strategy is with Dick Berggren. Dick?
Well, Jerry, the pit strategy will certainly be determined by yellow flags. If they get a yellow flag, everybody's going to come in. But remember, all afternoon, Earnhardt has been pitting earlier than everybody else, and Labonte is getting excellent fuel mileage. Next time Earnhardt comes in, if it's under a green flag, he'll almost certainly take 2 tires, a load of fuel, and go out. Labonte will do the same. If it's a yellow flag, they're going to do all 4 tires and then come in. Here's the key deal. Labonte seems to be getting better fuel mileage by about 20 laps than Earnhardt per tank. That means he can stay out there longer and hope for the yellow flag to pick up the 4 tires, which would in fact give him an advantage at the end. Bob?
All right, well, all that to be determined here in the next few laps. They will, of course, make one more pit stop before the end of this race, and it could be won or lost in the pit area before this one is all over. Now, if Terry Labonte were to win here this afternoon, it would be the 10th different winner in 1987 on the Winston Cup Tour. Of course, Earnhardt has the most wins with 11. Bill Elliott has 3. Rudd, Davey Allison, and Tim Richmond each have 2. And then Kyle Petty, Bobby Allison, Rusty Wallace, and Darrell Waltrip each have 1 win.
And Bob, Terry Labonte's last win came in March of 1986 at North Carolina Motor Speedway in Rockingham, North Carolina. It has been 50 races since Labonte has been to victory lane. It has been a long time and a long dry spell for the Junior Johnson crew. Tim Brewer and the crew really working to put this car in victory lane.
And Terry's performance here in this race last year, of course, he wasn't driving for Junior Johnson, but he finished 10th in the 1986 Holly Farms 400. And in the race earlier this year here at North Wilkesboro, the first Union 400, he was 8th, although, as we mentioned, he did not actually drive in competition as Brett Bodine took over for the injured Terry Labonte. Now the number 5 car of Jeff Bodine and the 26 machine of Morgan Shepherd begin to close up just a little bit as Darrell Waltrip is positioned between the 2. Shepherd currently in 4th, and Jeff Bodine is in 5th.
We mentioned the 3 cars that were battling last week in Martinsville, Virginia. That final lap as Labonte was involved, as was Darrell Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt. The Labonte car was damaged pretty severely. And listen to what happened to the car. They brought it back from Martinsville. It's the same car they're racing here today. They brought it back from Martinsville, Virginia on Sunday night. Tim Brewer and the crew, Wayne Dalton, everybody went to work on the car, stripped the sheet metal off, and Brewer left for Banjo Matthews' shop Sunday night. Monday afternoon at 8 o'clock, or pardon me, at 8 p.m., the car returned from Banjo Shop with a new frame and began to work putting sheet metal on the car. At 5 o'clock Tuesday morning, the crew finished putting sheet metal on the car, sent it in to be painted. The car was painted Tuesday night, reassembled with chassis parts, the coolers, the ductwork. Wednesday it was finished, and Thursday at 1 o'clock it was loaded on its way here to Wilkesboro.
All of that in 72 hours. That's pretty good. Now it's single file as Petty, Morgan Shepherd, then Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Bodine, and Bobby Hillen Jr. are in single file formation. Well, we began to talk about the possible changes for next year, and I know you only got partially through your list, so maybe we can do some speculating and predictions here on what might happen next year.
Well, we know Davey Allison's team, the Revere Lundy team, will run the full schedule in '88. That's why they are here testing the short track car they just had built today. Buddy Baker will run the full circuit next year in the Crisco car. But then in '89, the speculation is he may give up the reins to either one of his young sons, Brandon or Brian, or maybe another young driver. But Baker will run for the championship. And a lot of us who have seen Baker for many years would like to see him have a good shot at winning it. And he can do it next year. Cliff Stewart is coming back. Cliff Stewart, who maintained the car, Rusty Wallace drove, Jeff Bodine drove, Morgan Shepherd drove. He has been out for a year or so. We understand he will be coming back to the team for '88. Dave Maynard III, the two-time All-American Challenge Series champion for NASCAR out of Maline, Alabama, may get a ride for Winston Cup Rookie next year. He has talked to Jimmy Means and a few others about running their cars later in the year. He may drive at Atlanta on the final race of this year and may run for '88 on a regular schedule.
And there are more. We'll continue to talk about them throughout the afternoon. As Terry Labonte leads the Holly Farms 400, another win for Junior Johnson would please him just fine.
Well, that's true. We're going to do everything we can to win it. You know, I hope it don't come down to a crashing contest like 3 or 4 others as in the last race or two. If it comes down to that, whoever gets crashed worse will be the one that is out of it, and we've got the rough end of that deal 2 or 3 times this year, so we don't plan on taking much of that while we're here either.
So Labonte leads, and we have less than 80 laps to go in this race. Can Terry hang on to the lead, or will Dale Earnhardt charge toward the front? Well, we'll be right back. Now, Benny Parsons has come in for a pit stop. One other thing that we'll have on Speed Week this coming week, some tremendous speeds being turned in at Ennis, Texas in the NHRA drag race. Some unbelievable speeds being turned in that we'll tell you about on Thursday night. Benny Parsons rolls back out onto the racetrack. Terry Labonte continues to set the pace, and we're anticipating some pit stops soon. Here is Dale Earnhardt making his pit stop. The final one of the race for Dale Earnhardt as he brings the Wrangler Jean Chevy in. Here's Dick Berggren.
They are really ready for this thing. Kurt Schomerden has looked over all the tires, as has their tire experts. Childress has looked over all the tires. 1 can of fuel in, 2nd can ready. This will be outside tires only. Right side is done. Schomerden cleans the grill on the car. There goes Earnhardt. Good stop.
He goes a lap down, although the stop only took 14.2 seconds. Earnhardt at the moment a lap down, but remember, everybody else is going to have to pit shortly, and unless we get a yellow flag here, he will obviously make up the lap.
Well, Terry Labonte's crew, the Budweiser crew, getting ready, getting their strategy put together, and likewise, they probably will change 2 right side tires. We see some other crews getting ready. Here's Jeff Bodine's crew getting prepared on pit road. There's Labonte, the leader. Budweiser Chevrolet currently has a lap over Dale Earnhardt, but other cars on the lead lap. The car number 9 of Bill Elliott, and there's Bobby Hillen's car in, getting right side tires on the Miller American Buick for Hillen. And there's Earnhardt trying to unlap himself. Now he is a lap down. That 14.2 second stop cost him a lap. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Jeff Bodine is going to be the next one in. Remember, he's got problems with the rear end of that car being loose. He's also got right front damage. This is a right side tire change, a windshield clean. Got one can of fuel in it. Surprisingly, they're not touching the bolts on the car. They're not going to adjust the springs, and here's why. They're going to make their changes with tires. Bodine to take 4 tires under green. The only time you see this is when the handling has gone away. There is proof positive that Bodine has lost the handles, Bob. Gary Lee, what's going on at your end?
Well, we have Bill Elliott in as Dan Elliott goes to work on the left front, again changing right side tires only, a clean windshield being administered, 2 dump cans, 22 gallons of fuel. Bill Elliott, the short track program trying to pick up steam here at North Wilkes, and he is underway.
So now the only one of our top 3 who has not come in for a stop is the leader, Terry Labonte. And we've been mentioning throughout the afternoon he's getting just a little bit better gas mileage than anybody else. That's allowing him to stay out there. And I think, Jerry, that Earnhardt just showed his hand before we went down for the Jeff Bodine stop. He passed Labonte and really put him away, so to speak. Here comes, by the way, the leader, Labonte.
Here's Terry Labonte on the Budweiser's pit stop on pit road. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Well, here it is for all the marbles. This may well be Labonte's last pit stop. Certainly Earnhardt could pass him because he's got those 2 new tires, but Labonte is about to have new tires on the outside of his automobile as well. Count on this being a 2-tire change. They're not going to change 4. There goes Labonte.
And he's going to fall in just behind Dale Earnhardt. No, he beats Earnhardt out of the pit area, and Labonte hangs on to the lead.
And this crowd is on its feet here at North Wilkesboro. A capacity crowd of 35,000 people estimated here by the local facilities, local constabulary, and they are cheering Terry Labonte, the local favorite. Junior Johnson's shop just 8 miles away. Bob Jenkins and Labonte 12.3 seconds on their pit stop, and the Wrangler crew 14.2. And there's the difference. Labonte is the leader.
Well, Earnhardt had to climb on the brakes to avoid running into the back end of another car, and that allowed Terry just to accelerate to the inside and move out into position ahead of Dale Earnhardt. Ricky Rudd gets service on pit road.
Right side tires for the Motorcraft Ford. Harold Stott and the crew changing those tires, and there is Labonte moving inside of the Xerox Ford of Alan Kowicki. This crew, the Budweiser crew, Tim Brewer, Wayne Dalton, Pete Wright, Sandy Jones, Mike Hill, all of them, they have worked so hard, and the guys in the shop this week, they will not be denied. Brewer said, we had to totally rebuild this car, as I told you earlier. This is the car they wanted to win with earlier in the year. They brought it here as a brand new race car, and Brett Bodine was the driver. Their number 1 driver, Terry Labonte, was hurt.
Terry Labonte now with about a 4-second lead, or rather a 2-second lead on Dale Earnhardt. In the closing stages of the Holly Farms 400 Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, Terry Labonte in car number 11 is the leader. The car right ahead of Labonte is Bill Elliott. He is in 3rd. So Labonte is about to put Bill Elliott down a lap, and that would mean that only Labonte and Dale Earnhardt are on the lead lap. And Jerry, I think we're seeing Terry Labonte pull away from Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt's car just doesn't seem to be performing as well as it has throughout the afternoon.
Well, I don't think it is either, and I think if he could have stayed out there in front of Labonte, he would have liked to have done that. Now possibly the only hope may be a caution flag to get these cars back in and get them redialed or readjusted. There's Richard Petty on pit road, Bill Wilburn at the crew. Kenny Wilson changing right side tires, the car down and away off the jacks. 15.5 seconds from Richard Petty. Pretty good STP pit stop.
Richard Petty had a very close call a few laps ago with that man right there that he drops in beside of Ricky Rudd, as Richard Petty had to battle for control in turn number 3. And there is Davey Allison once again, and Joey Knuckles and the crew have been working feverishly on this car several times during the afternoon. So Davey has been no threat here on this short track, although he's always a force to be reckoned with on the super speedways. And that short track program will be coming along fine next year.
Well, if Bill Elliott can stay put there in front of Terry Labonte, he may have a shot at winning it, but even if he can't, he can maintain his position. He may equal his best short track finish of the year. He's currently being shown in 4th spot. And he now will possibly go a lap down. Benny Parsons, another unscheduled stop, makes his way to pit road. And Kenny Schrader makes a pit stop under green.
Labonte and Elliott running side by side. Now Labonte inches ahead as there is Benny Parsons, who came in for another stop. Obviously the car not performing the way he wanted it to, and it looks like the trailer will come in only for a splash of fuel in the Red Baron Frozen Pizza Ford.
Schrader currently being shown in 15th spot, the last car 1 lap down. Benny Parsons is in 16th, showing 2 laps down to that man, Terry Labonte.
As you can see, Labonte has indeed passed Bill Elliott, so now 2 cars remain on the lead lap. The only other one besides the leader Labonte, Dale Earnhardt. And we have less than 50 laps to go as Alan Kulwicki brings the Xerox Ford in for a splash of fuel. They're also making a weight adjustment there in the right side of the race car, and Kulwicki goes back out into competition.
Kulwicki being shown in 5th spot, a lap down, as we said.
Now Labonte and Darrell Waltrip are side by side. These are 2 of the 3 combatants in the final lap last weekend at Martinsville. But again, very clean racing here at North Wilkesboro as Darrell moves over and allows Terry to pass very easily. Well, we heard from Junior Johnson about how important it is for him to win. How about Terry Labonte bringing home a win?
Well, the point has been on all season, you know. Of course, I think the closer you get to the end, a little bit more pressure there. But the thing that's bad about our year is the fact that we've come close several times and missed those chances, and you can't ever make them up. You know, you just got to go out and get some more chances. And so this will be of all the races left to win, this will be the one I'd love to win more than any of them, probably.
And he's well on his way to doing so. We'll know in the next few laps. Now 357 laps are completed. Darrell Waltrip has brought the Tide Chevrolet in again. Here's Dick Berggren.
Yeah, it's going to be a right side tire change for Waltrip. Jeff Hammond, the crew chief, is inside the car, winding a whole bunch of wedge into it. They've got the gas in one can of it, second can in, and there goes Waltrip.
Waltrip has not been a real threat to win all afternoon long, but Terry Labonte and Dale Earnhardt are still very much in competition. We'll be right back. We're with Neil Bonnet, the Valvoline Pontiac, and the Hardee's Race Cam at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina Speedway in the Holly Farms 400. It is a 7th position that Neil Bonnet holds at the moment. He's talking with his crew and just has been having problems all afternoon. He's signaling to the other drivers to go ahead and pass him. He's coming in for a pit stop, as a matter of fact.
Here's Neil Bonnet bringing the Valvoline Pontiac on the pit road, and the Butch Mock Bobber Hilly crew will go to work on that car. You see him carrying the tires around. That's a bird's eye view inside. There's Phil Parsons getting his pit stop. There they're cleaning the windshield, adding right side tires. You saw Neil Bonnet with his right hand. He had the thumb. There's a button attached to the steering wheel. He uses to talk to the radio. He activates the radio. Good pit stop for the Valvoline car. Down and away. A little less than 17 seconds. Now coming back onto the track in turn 1. There goes the leader, Terry Labonte, by as Neil Bonnet slides up in behind Ricky Rudd.
The average speed of the race at this point is 94.678 miles an hour, well off the pace, the record pace of 100.716 that was set by Darrell Waltrip back in October of 1983. Ricky Rudd right ahead of Neil Bonnet, and then ahead of Ricky Rudd is the leader, Terry Labonte. You can see him up ahead going to the inside and passing a slower car. That was Rusty Wallace that Terry just passed. Richard Petty right ahead of Terry Labonte as Richard stands to lose his 2nd lap of the race. But Richard is currently being shown in 8th position. To summarize what has gone on so far, we've had 3 caution periods. There was only 1 crash, at least so far. That was the one that involved Steve Chrisman and Huck Strickland. Steve's car got out of control in turns 1 and 2 after apparently blowing an engine and sliding up into the wall, but he was not injured. Terry Labonte, our leader, brought out the first caution of the day when he cut a tire and slid into the fourth turn wall, but he stayed on the lead lap. And then we had a yellow so that an injured crewman on the Bobby Allison crew could be taken to the hospital. Mark Osborne suffered a laceration of the lip when hit with one of the air wrenches, and he was allowed to cross the track. There is no tunnel here, so if you go outside the racetrack, you have to cross the track itself. Those are the 3 caution periods that we've had. As far as leaders, we have had 5 different leaders, rather 5 lead changes in this race. But Terry Labonte has far and away led the most, and Earnhardt has led the second highest number of laps.
Bob, the interval between first and second has continued to grow. It is now 4.6 seconds between Terry Labonte, the leader, and the second place car, Dale Earnhardt. And we are now less than 30 laps from the checkered flag. Will it be Terry Labonte or will it be someone else? Well, we'll have the answer in 30 more laps. Bob Jenkins, Jerry Punch, Dick Bergman, and Gary Lee back at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina Speedway in the Holly Farms 400. And Terry Labonte is the leader with less now than 25 laps to go. There is second place Dale Earnhardt. Those 2 cars, the only ones on the lead lap. Here's Gary.
Well, after that last pit stop for Dale Earnhardt, the strategy was a bit of compromise because he has been complaining to Richard Childress in the headset. The car has been loose in the last 100 to 120 laps. Had they made their final pit stop under yellow, they would have jacked some more weight, gone to a 4-tire change, and changed the stagger. As it was, they had to go for a very quick stop under green. They did make a very quick change of the weight. They jacked the weight around, only changed right side tires, so the car is still loose, and for that reason, it doesn't appear that Dale will have a chance at catching car number 11.
All right. There is Dale Earnhardt in second position. The interval about 4 seconds. Our pit stop summary shows that Labonte came in the lead and went out in the lead. Earnhardt also maintained his position, as did Elliott and Shepard. Bodine lost a position, came in 5th and went out 6th. And Alan Kulwicki also lost a position. He came in 6th and went out in 7th position.
Bob, I mentioned if Labonte wins this race today, he will be the 10th different winner on the tour this year. Among some of the hot shoes, some of the Winston Cup stars who have not won, Richard Petty has been 95 races without a win. Benny Parsons has not won since 1984. Harry Gant, 2 years ago today, his last win here at Wilkesboro. Neil Bonnet won back in October of last year at Rockingham. He has not won this year. Cale Yarborough has not won in 2 years. And Buddy Baker, although he's been so close so many times, he has not won since Daytona in July of 1983.
But it appears as if we will have a brand new winner for 1987 with Terry Labonte. Well, as we mentioned, there are different size racetracks and therefore different types of tire compounds. Here's Jerry.
These are the Goodyear Racing Eagles we see on the Winston Cup cars throughout the year. Now, we all know there are different racing tire compounds for different tracks, but what you may not know is there are different tire sizes for different tracks. Let me show you what we mean. This tire up front is a short track and road course tire used at Riverside and Watkins Glen, places like Richmond and Wilkesboro. It has a very narrow sidewall. The narrow sidewall allows it more stability so the cars can sashay back and forth for tight corners on a road course or short track. Let's look at Big Brother here. This tire used at Michigan, Darlington, Charlotte, intermediate size tracks, a little bit bigger sidewall. You don't need as much sidewall strength because most of the force goes through the rubber into the asphalt. Let's look at the big guy here. This is Talladega. Big sidewall. No need for sidewall stability here overall. All those 200+ mile/hour speeds go through the tread into the asphalt. All the force is right here. Okay, let's take a look at what a differing size sidewall does for the tires. Well, this big guy here at Talladega, look at the difference. This tire is 4 inches more in circumference than the little guy used on the road courses. This big tire, very effective, has a very small footprint, approximately 8 inches of rubber on the asphalt. The smaller the footprint, the less friction, and the faster you go. Intermediate track tire, we're talking possibly a 9-inch footprint. 8 inches here, 9 inches here. Okay, now on road courses, we're talking the largest footprint, possibly 9.5 or 10 inches. More stability, more rubber on the asphalt, and a better handling tire. Overall, different tire sizes for different tracks. Something new for NASCAR.
And something not new for NASCAR is, with 13 laps to go, Dale Earnhardt, except this time he's not in the lead. He is running in second position, and he's been caught in some race traffic and has dropped 8 seconds behind Terry Labonte, and there are less than 13 laps to go. Terry Labonte leads Earnhardt, Elliott, Shepard, and Jeff Bodine. We'll be right back. And so we get set for the final few laps of the Holly Farms 400. There is Ernie Irvan in car number 6. He has obviously lost a tire, and he scraped the fourth turn wall, similar to what Terry Labonte did early in the race. However, this does not bring out a caution. Irvan has continued to keep the car running. He's now safely in the pits. No caution. For a moment, we thought that the caution was going to come out, bunch up the field, and perhaps Dale Earnhardt would have a shot at Terry Labonte, but that apparently will not be the case as Labonte continues to lead the field.
Terry Labonte moving in on the 4th place car. That is Morgan Shepard in the Quaker State Bernstein Buick. Labonte now biding his time as laps are winding down. It'll be 6 laps to go when we come back. There's the 2nd place car, Dale Earnhardt. An unusual spot for Earnhardt. He is the chaser as opposed to the chasee. He has been the leader on 6 of the 7 short track events. He has led the most laps, and he, of course, he has won 6 times.
5 more laps to go, and Earnhardt is going to have to make an outstanding charge here the last few races of the year in order to tie or even beat Richard Petty's 13 wins in a single season. Terry Labonte has led this race since lap number 194.
Terry Labonte looking for career win number 7 and only his 2nd ever short track victory in Winston Cup competition.
Last time that Labonte won was in March of 1986. It's been well over a year ago. That victory was at Rockingham. Harold Kinder, the official starter for the Winston Cup Series, points to Terry Labonte and gives him the 2 more laps to go signal. Next time around, Labonte will be receiving the white flag for his final trip around this 0.625 mile racetrack. There is Dale Earnhardt in 2nd, but well off the pace, some 8 seconds behind Labonte. And we have a crash over in turn number 2. Not a crash actually, but a spin involving Alan Kowicki, but it does bring out the caution flag, and Labonte will be coming down to receive the caution flag and also the white flag at the same time. So this race is going to end under caution, and Terry Labonte has it.
Well, coming back from adversity, you talk about he started out in the wall in turn 4 on the first caution flag of the day. A cut right front tire, and now he'll take that same Budweiser Chevrolet and an impressive effort by Tim Brewer, Junior Johnson, and the crew to victory lane. His first win in 50 starts for Terry Labonte. Win number 7. He will come down, Bob, and get the checkers.
And here it is. Labonte receives the checkered flag, and Terry Labonte wins his first Winston Cup race of 1987. He gives Junior Johnson another victory here at North Wilkesboro. His win comes in his 270th Winston Cup race. Terry Labonte from Corpus Christi, Texas.
And that makes Junior Johnson the all-time winningest car owner here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. He had been tied with Petty Engineering with 15 wins apiece. Now Johnson will have win number 16, and Labonte its career win number 7.
Junior certainly has something to smile about. We heard Gary Lee early in the race talk about how calm and serene that Junior Johnson is most of the time. Perhaps we can get a smile out of him in victory lane. We know we'll have one from Terry Labonte, who came so close last weekend at Martinsville, but finally pulls off the victory at North Wilkesboro. So Terry has pulled the car into victory lane. He'll have a few moments to get himself together in the race car. Then he'll be stepping out and talking with us, and we'll be back for that victory lane interview in a moment.
We're on break, Bob.
We go to the victory lane. Dick Berggren standing by with Terry Labonte.
Well, Terry Labonte, what does it feel like to win at Wilkesboro for Junior Johnson?
I'll tell you what, Darrell Walter won this race a year ago, and he said on ESPN that Terry would have fun in this car, and I did. I tell you, he didn't lie. I got to thank, Junior and all the guys that work on the crew that just did a super job. The car worked perfect all day. I thought we were in trouble when we cut a tire early in the race, but, we just kept after it, and the car worked super.
How did the car run after you had the cut tire?
Well, believe it or not, it messed the front end up a little bit, and we need to go back to the shop and check it and see what it did, because I think it helped it.
The car actually ran better after you crashed?
I believe it did.
Incredible. What were your thoughts when you saw that wall coming up and you knew the tire was gone? Did you think, oh no, here we go again?
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. We've come close 3 or 4 times, and it seemed like there's always some little thing that knocked us out, and I thought, oh boy, here we go again,
Well, Gary Lee is with second place finishing Dale Earnhardt. Gary?
Indeed I am. Early it looked like you were going to run away and hide, then some yellows, and then I understand the car got loose.
Well, we made an adjustment on the car, and I think we went the wrong way. We were going to change it again if we could have got another 4-tire change, but it didn't come, so we had to just suffer with it. And had to put them rights on that one stop. It really made it worse. So, we'll see what happens at Charlotte.
So in hindsight, what you really needed late in the race was a yellow for tire change.
Well, we could have made another adjustment and hopefully went the right way. We were pretty good, but we just wasn't good as Terry.
Just a tad off in car number 3.
All right, but still a fine finish for Dale Earnhardt, and he again has all but wrapped up the Winston Cup Championship for 1987.